Abbiamo preso un'altra sala adiacente, si è riempita pure quella, quindi adesso inizieremo, io andrò a salutare gli amici.
We took another room, adjacent. That one also filled up, so now we will begin. I will go and greet the friends, who will see me in streaming, but the beautiful energy of this meeting will reverberate there as well. So I thank you very, very much for being here, after they kept us in captivity for 2 years, worse than canaries. These first outings that I am doing are, I must say, to my great surprise and obviously to my great pleasure, are attracting so many people. And this is a very beautiful fact for those who, like me, for more than 30 years, have sacrificed themselves with enormous difficulties. In times when 10, 15 people came into the halls only to argue, to make polemics and tell me that I was a raging madman who believed in UFOs. Thank God. Today my research and that of many investigative colleagues has produced a gigantic amount of evidence that on this planet there is a structure. The talk I gave the other day was anyone in Torre del Benaco? So do you remember? I spoke of structure. Today we will see something. I have reintroduced in the latest presentations some beautiful extraterrestrial spacecraft, which does no harm. So there is a structure, extremely powerful, of very advanced civilizations that have been sent here, because they were sent by an authority that has the power to give this order. And they are here for us, they are not here for the powerful. That is, they are also for the powerful, but to give them a hard time. I recently held a charity seminar for me in favor of a little Madonna who walks, Carla Castagnini, a woman after a family tragedy, sold everything and dedicated herself to solidarity. I have been helping her for many years. And anyway, in a seminar that I held in August, I addressed the theme of justice. A very delicate theme because in these 2 years, justice, our rights have been trampled in the most vile, most violent and most brazen way in the whole history of the Republic. I prepared this seminar to give the good news. In this universe, justice and the certainty of punishment exist. And the structure that will try and condemn all these criminals is here on the planet, so they will pay dearly. But we must participate. We cannot be spectators. So today we will speak about this. Then I will give space to your questions. Time will not be enough because you are so many, however. Slowly then, we will develop. Hello? We also have the Vikings. From which part of Norway do you come? From Venice. Well, the Venetians. All right now. I would call Giovanni. Ah, right. Right. Shall we start the streaming? Yes. Let's start the streaming. Anyway, now I will applaud you. Thank you. If you are here, there is a future. This is very beautiful. If you are here, there is a future. We have a future. Because you are here, and they are here. Hello, friends online? We are in Milan. We have 24 people in the hall. 1,000. 24,000. We begin shortly. I apologize. I will be absent for about 10 minutes because the hall here is packed. And there is another room with monitors that we have set up. That one also full, so I am going there. I will show myself. I greet the friends who are in that room, and then I will return here, and you will see me. In the meantime, I call Giovanni Bongiovanni. a very precious friend and son of Giorgio Bongiovanni.
figlio di Giorgio Bongiovanni.
I have requested from the UN that they include Giovanni as, how do you call those things of humanity? As part of the heritage of humanity, because a fine young man like Giovanni who dedicates himself to helping the poor, the children, is a rarity. So, he is president of Funima International, an idea that came to his father, to Giorgio Bongiovanni, whom I think many of you will know, stigmatized, contactee, and that Giovanni then, with his strength and his youthful passion, developed and carried forward, I must say, with great success, managing even to have institutional collaborations at United Nations level. It is not a very big association, a non-profit, but Giovanni is ambitious and wants to grow. So I leave you to his words. I am going to greet the friends in the other room, and then I will return here. Please, Giovanni.
Nell'altra sala e poi torno qui. Prego, Giovanni.
Prova.
Thank you. Test. Can you hear? Test. Okay. He exaggerated. Pier Giorgio speaking about me, so nothing is true. I am not a good person. No, jokes aside. So I greet you too. So I thank you for being here. And I am also very happy to participate and to have this opportunity to be able to present to you in 10 minutes what I deal with. I am president of this organization, which is a non-profit association, and it is called Funima International today. We have here 2 tables. You can see 2 brands, which are one Nueva Esperanza and one Progetto Mediterraneo, and they are brands of which Funima International is the owner. Now, I will tell you why. They are 2 brands that represent products such as coffee and organic food products that the association purchases from local Italian producers, mainly from the south, but not only. While the coffee comes from Guatemala and Africa, the association is an international organization, so we mainly work in Italy and in Latin America. In the places where we create infrastructure to bring water, we create projects and educational centers or projects of social reintegration also through work. In these places, we sometimes meet associations or cooperatives that produce products, and to give work to people who come from difficult situations, we purchase what they produce, and then we resell it. In this way, we give work. We also promote the culture of work, and then the profit, the organization uses it to carry out projects in the territories where these raw materials are purchased. Guatemala, Africa, Italy. So today we are here proposing that you purchase. If you want, I recommend it because the coffee is excellent. We will also let you taste it, or the pasta, the oil, the sauce. These products here, which are exceptional, organic, try them. Then on the respective websites or on social channels, you can also make a purchase on the e-commerce. So buy the products online. But coming back to the main mission of the association, these are fundraising initiatives, but at the same time, they are initiatives that serve to support local projects and cooperatives with which we have an affinity, always of mission. But mainly the association was born to carry out humanitarian works in the world. I give the example of Latin America. Argentina is one of the places that I frequent the most. Here we have a structure, we have people, we specialize in support work for indigenous communities. This is how the association was born. In 2005, I made my first trip to the Andes. I began to support precisely the indigenous communities of the Argentine Andes. 3,000, 4,000 meters, and I began precisely by creating wells, structures for collecting rainwater, small aqueducts, because the main problem of those places is precisely the lack of water or the presence of contaminated water. There are companies that work in the extraction of minerals, very large, European, Canadian, American. through a chemical process that would take too long to explain, but the aquifers are polluted. So we are forced to dig wells even 100, 200 meters deep to find good water. This in areas that apparently seem uncontaminated, beautiful, paradisiacal, actually hide this enormous drama, or areas where there is precisely drought. For example, another area where I have gone a lot, and on Funima's site you will find my videos. While I am there also with volunteers, many have come with me, whom I take periodically to show the things we do, and also to participate in a work activity. In the Chaco forest, which is another place I'm in love with, but you live a sort of love and hate, in the sense of sadness because it is a truly desolate place. It is fascinating and leaves on you that feeling where you feel that you cannot do without it anymore in your life. That is, nevertheless, you go there and still suffer because it is an adventure trip and also very demanding physically, however. Then you come back to Italy, to your home, and still feel the lack of another place, which is not your home, but which you feel you need. This when one speaks, very often one hears about the African blues, right? Here the African blues is this. It is not only the African blues, but it is the blues of those areas where there is still a strong energy or something that attracts you, where there is much suffering, but also much life. Well, this for me is Argentina. So there, with the communities I have taken care of, I have been taken care of for about 20 years. I am 37 years old. I started very young. As Pier Giorgio said, when I was a kid, I did small things, but already in adolescence, I began to make my first volunteer trips. Then already at 16, I was involved in nonprofit associations. At 17 and 18, I actually founded, with my family, Funima International. And it is there that I began my first trips. So in Argentina, well in love with those lands, today we have a base there, a presence of people who accompany the indigenous communities in parallel with the creation of infrastructure. Those I told you about earlier regarding water. We bring water, we promote the culture of work, so we then encourage starting agricultural or livestock production activities to make people self-sufficient. And then a sort of education and accompaniment to the growth of these indigenous communities that are isolated from the world where the government says it has gifted them the lands to make them autonomous, but actually has gifted a desolate place and devastated by the new world, by the world we have brought in which these communities cannot integrate. Because they would still like to live as they once lived, but in a world where that flora no longer exists, that fauna no longer exists, so they can no longer feed themselves on what grows from the trees nor on the animals of those lands. Because then we made a famous video, launching the drone at many meters, and showing that the forest of the indigenous communities, where the government says it has gifted them lands, actually is no longer a forest because it is a small piece of land that is thousands of hectares, but still a small piece of land where most is destroyed for soy cultivation. For this reason, the ecosystem no longer reproduces as it once did. So we fight in parallel, therefore we do politics, social battles to try to improve the situation. Now this is an example. The Argentina project is precisely a program that lasts years, where we try, let's say, slowly to solve these situations and to bring an improvement in this issue, therefore, that of the communities. Then we work in Uruguay, we work in Paraguay, we also work in different territories. On the site, you can learn about it. In the capitals of the cities, in the villas, in the favelas, we have education projects or education and support for street children, for families who live on the street. In Guatemala instead, the coffee cooperatives. They are always indigenous communities, those who in Guatemala are exploited. In fact, when I went the first time with a group of doctors and another association, I saw precisely the lands of Monsanto, of McDonald's or of this or that other company that we know very well. Immense plantations, exploitation of the people, of the lands and of the people. So there are cooperatives that fight against this situation to make themselves autonomous. We support them by buying coffee from those cooperatives that are outside the exploitation circuit of the multinationals. Okay? We try, we bring it here to Italy, and we sell it. If you have bars, we give the machines on loan for use. In the family, we also give small machines where you can consume our coffee. There are beans, there is ground mocha, there are various products that we offer. Briefly, waiting also for Pier Giorgio to return. Italy. Italy is the country to which I don't say we care more, because we feel citizens of the world and brothers with all peoples and nations. But we live here. We have our base in Palermo. And there in the neighborhoods between Ballarò, therefore the Albergheria and the Capo, many of the people who are here in the hall today have come to visit us, and I have accompanied them. Also there, showing the associations with which we collaborate. Mainly in Italy, we take care of education. That is, to reach what we always define as the new man. That is a person with a new spiritual consciousness who can be, indeed, better for the tomorrow that will come. We want to start from the children. So educating the youngsters and the families, accompanying the families in the education of their children, we do it in the most difficult neighborhoods, and the services we offer are free. So education, therefore accompaniment to families, therefore psychological support, therefore bringing work. We try to support the cooperatives that give work to these families, to these people. And so we try to trigger a cultural change that starts from below. This is what we do. How? Thanks to your help. That is, why am I here? Because the association is not an association that has its own funds. That is, we support the projects by asking you to help us with donations. Groups are born in Italy that make donations or organize events, dinners, they sell our products, they create those contacts, that network of people, of small philanthropists. You, our supporters, are hundreds. You are all small philanthropists. There is the donation of 10, of 100, of 1,000, of people who trust us, who follow us by coming to visit us, who follow us on social media, the documents, the photos, the videos that we show to give all the possible transparency. Obviously, the budgets, you can imagine the bureaucracy behind it. There is an administration office, there is an audited budget, there is a certification, there is an entire world to guarantee transparency. But the most important thing are your testimonies and the people and the supporters who, once they donate the 100 euros, the 10 euros, or who buy the product, then come to get to know. Well, we try. Today here in the hall, I ask you, if you want, to participate in a project important to me, to change, in our small way, our world, and to do it together. We have a current account, Banca Etica, but you can also donate online. And we constantly receive donations that come from you with specific purpose. Now we have launched, if you see on Fonima's Facebook social channel, a fundraising campaign to complete a well. So I present myself, I make a video, I tell you what it is about, then I show you the photos and the video of the work carried out. And our friends support, donate. So crowdfunding, we ask for support, and we do it in this way. We are trying to take advantage, in quotes, of moments like these where there are people who with sensitivity want to listen to Pier Giorgio, who speaks about the contents that we disseminate. Because we believe, let's say, that starting from a renewal of consciousness is the key to changing the world. And so we do it with events like these, and the association encourages you who have a certain sensitivity also to get involved, trying with our organization to be able to do works. That is, we care very much about speaking and discussing the spiritual themes with which we deal. But then this knowledge, this human and spiritual growth, according to our point of view, must be put into practice with concrete works that do good for society and people. So with this appeal, I tell you that we are available. I do this daily, so if you subscribe to the association's channels, I will respond personally or with my staff. If you want to come and visit us, you will find me. I am a very available person, although, obviously, I fill my day with commitments, but come forward. A group is being born here. Probably now Pier will name it. So also in Milan, a group wants to be born. Perhaps spiritual to do dissemination, but also social with Funima International, which I will accompany. I have finished. I send you a hug. Thank you for listening to me. See you. See you soon. Thank you. Thank you again. At the end, going out there are the tables. Obviously, you will find me there if you want to exchange a few words now. and so I am available.
Allora, prima di iniziare, Giovanni vi ha già detto che c'è.
So, before starting, Giovanni has already told you that there is a group that is being born here in Milan that collaborates with us. I would like to explain one thing, because sometimes when entering groups, misunderstandings are created that then give rise to small sufferings.
Allora,
So, we are in streaming, right?
streaming, giusto? Io sono
I am the spiritual son of Eugenio Siragusa.
Eugenio Siragusa.
Eugenio Siragusa is the manifestation, the fulfillment of the prophecy of the Gospel of John, of the Comforter. It is not only Eugenio, but Christ promises, an entity that he calls the Comforter. The Lord even says, I must go away because if I do not go away, I cannot send you the Paraclete, which is a Greek word that means the Comforter. He will come. He will not speak of what belongs to him, of what he knows, but he will report what is told to him. And he will tell you all that truth that today, 2,000 years ago, the Lord could not say because he was speaking to a primitive agro-pastoral society. So the Lord prophesies that the consolation for humanity, after 2,000 years of lies, would be the truth. The truth in its most complete expression, because the truth about the nature of man, the immanent one, therefore physical, and the transcendent one, therefore spiritual, and of the whole creation. Within the groups that are formed from our initiatives, one studies and does only this. Not because we are a sect, but because I am a national and international researcher. I have traveled the world, but because the revelation of John is the highest expression of the truth. Then there are many other characters, contactees, who have given and revealed aspects of the truth. But the most complete truth, which is the one that has formed me, is that of the school of John. What happens? That we create groups, and then Alberto enters the group. No, he likes more the contactee Peppino. Then Francesco enters. No, he likes more the contactee Alberta. That is, it is not like that. In the group, one studies that type of truth for a very practical reason too. One must form a solid basic knowledge before going to study particular and relative aspects from other sources. Because if you are ignorant and you throw everything into the cauldron, in the end you make a lot of confusion and you understand nothing. Because the world of contactism has been infiltrated since the beginning by the secret services who have created false leads, false truths, to keep us in ignorance and belligerent dispute. So this must be clarified. Therefore, first one studies that truth. One forms oneself to that truth, and then, once you have the capacity to discern, you can also tackle other topics. But making a soup of 100,000 things, some of which totally false, is only a great waste of time, because these things are very serious, and they must be tackled with the seriousness that is due to any science. No one studies physics and then puts in a bit of medicine, a bit of geology, a bit of another thing. One studies physics, becomes a professor of physics, and then decides to branch out into other things. So I would call Francesca, who is the person in charge of the group here in Milan. So we can see her. Please, Francesca, she will give you and tell you how to do for those who are in the area. Francesca, with other young people, is the mind and the organizational arm of this event. I must say they have done it with a seriousness and professionalism truly praiseworthy. Please, Francesca, the floor is yours. This is the microphone. Microphone, microphone.
Intanto ciao a tutti, vi ringrazio di essere qui, siamo onorati.
Meanwhile, hello to everyone. I thank you for being here. We are very honored to have you. We hope to have other conferences like this. For all those who are from Milan and interested, there is a display at the reception where you can take a photo and contact us for the next events, for everything that may concern Funima, our area. And we are waiting for you.
Io vi ringrazio veramente di cuore.
I thank you truly from the heart, a heart that is now exploding, because seeing so many people willing to move from all over Italy, and probably someone also outside Italy. And on the other hand, that same heart that is beating very strongly cries for the people who remained outside, because almost 100 people could not enter. And this really hurts us first, who organized this thing for you, for the availability that Pierre gives to all the people who are undertaking a path of knowledge, a personal path of study, of deepening in such a difficult world situation. And I thank Giovanni, who as always gives his contribution of charitable act of this work, of this great work that in various branches spreads, but also carries out supportive and humanitarian acts. Thank you again. Enjoy the conference.
Grazie ancora. Buona conferenza.
Allora, io ho conosciuto...
So, I know Dennis Bourdin. He comes from Trieste. He has lived a bit where I live, in the Marca region, in Sant'Elpidio. I have to ask you a favor, Dennis. Can you untie your hair? So Dennis is the cousin of Jesus. They are golden boys, truly. Truly the most surprising, extraordinary thing that life, heaven has reserved for me, is to see beautiful young people who have in their hearts our Lord who truly loves us so much, and He deserves it. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Francesca. Test? Yes. So let us enter into the heart. Let us revisit a topic I've already covered in recent events, but, as always, a few obligatory announcements first. So, one must, I repeat, I always say, do the homework. This science that comes to us from the cosmos, this revelation is great, and it is a multidisciplinary science. So it deals with many aspects of the nature and of the structure of creation, man included, man or woman, obviously. When I say man humanity, I do not mean the male. The male is one thing, man is the human being, which is male and female. This revelation, however, contains a most precious, fundamental part, which is the one that for thousands of years has prevented us people from emancipating ourselves from the yoke of the tyranny of the powerful, because they have hidden it from us. That is, in fact, we do not know how we work. We are the most expensive appliance we have at home, and we do not know how we work. We follow religious creeds, a discourse that I have done many times that you know. So the most precious fundamental aspect for our growth and positive evolution is the science of the Spirit, which is not a religion, it is the truth. One, universal, valid for all humanities, for all worlds, for all dimensions of the cosmos, and it is the truth about the laws that govern the evolution of the Spirit. In this revelation, there is a lot of this aspect, which if it is not known and applied, leads invariably humanity to self-destruct. There is no way out. especially at the moment when a humanity discovers science. If science is not anchored to these laws, of which ethics is an important component, that humanity with science will self-destruct because it will develop a non-ethical technology. See, today we could eliminate all the atomic missiles on the planet, but just the system that produces consumer goods is enough to destroy the life of this world, and we are living it. Oceans of plastic, pollution everywhere, diseases, etc., etc. Here this aspect is most precious, fundamental, and there is not a single school of any other contactee that possesses, in such a vast, deep, and broad form, this knowledge like the school of John, because Christ chooses that one. So the Church of John is an esoteric church, compared to the exoteric church, that is exterior, of Peter, where Christ has preserved in these 2,000 years, through initiates who have reincarnated continuously, the Apostle John first of all, who is the one who must remain until Jesus returns. In fact, Peter asks the Lord, "But what will become of him?" And Jesus gives him an answer. He says, "If he must remain until I return, what does it matter to you? You follow me." And the Gospel says, the idea spread among the apostles that John would never die. But the Lord did not mean that John would never die. He meant that John would reincarnate in crucial phases of humanity's history to bring an ever broader revelation as humanity approached science. So this is the most important and most precious aspect, because once we know these laws and use them, we no longer have to ask anyone for permission. That is, with this knowledge we can determine, with a clear project, according to specific mathematical laws, what kind of reality we want to live in the future. From material ones to emotional ones, everything. This power comes from these laws, which is why they have been hidden from us, and a redundant material religious structure has been created, but completely emptied of knowledge. They have left the ritual, the symbolism, but in fact there is no knowledge. That is, they have created a great material university. Palaces, domes, cathedrals, but then the ministers inside are ignorant. They have been raised in ignorance to spread ignorance among the people, so that the true dominators of the world can enslave us. This is the legacy that Christ gives to John. So one must study. To study, you need sources. A first source is my website. Yes, I will put it here. It is my website from which then you can download, in the free resources section, you can download about 20 books for free in electronic format. Or they can also be requested by writing to info@piergiorgiocaria.it. Do not put questions, comments, or anything else because it is an automatic reply. No one will read you. You will simply receive in your email explanations on how to download the books. If you want these books in paper format, because many do not like electronic format, we have them. You can order them or get information by writing to info@cosmicshop.it. These texts, this knowledge, play an important automatic role because our brain is formed by the information we receive from society, from parents, from school, from the media. And so the brain shapes itself and creates neural networks in relation to the type of information it receives. The struggle to accumulate or assimilate new information we have experienced at school.
Perché quando tu vai a scuola ti confronti con una informazione che non conosci e il cervello.
Because when you go to school, you confront information you do not know, and the brain must start working to create all those synapses and all those networks and those memory basins to make that knowledge yours. The driving school, whatever we learn. Now these are texts written by men, human beings, but they were thought and dictated by entities not of this world. So it is a way of thinking and reasoning different from ours. So at the beginning, on average, one struggles a lot, and the attitude is to reread until one understands. But this is wrong. In this case, you must read straight through, without stopping. What you understand, finish, and then start again from the beginning. Because the automatisms of the brain take care of accumulating what it understands. From what it accumulates of what it has understood, it aggregates, and at the next reading, you will understand more. In time, these books will no longer say anything new to you. I have calculated that at least 5, 6, 7 readings of each are needed. I have done it. But in the end, you will be transformed because this information, this way of reasoning, will change you. With the only effort of reading, without even making the effort to reason. Read, reread, and suddenly you will notice that you begin to reason in a different way. Because we function in a triune way. Analysis of data, deduction of an answer, determination of an action. We are stuffed with false information. The answer we deduce is wrong. The action will fail. For this reason, people do not emancipate themselves and do not free themselves from slavery and deception. Because we are given mendacious, lying, false information, and therefore any analysis you make on any problem, starting from that mass of data, the answer will always be wrong. The action will always fail. In these texts, there is the truth, so the analysis begins to become correct. The answer begins to be the right one. The result finally becomes positive, which is what power does not want. So, that's the homework. Then, there is my YouTube channel, full of information. Subscribe if you have not done it so the channel travels, expands its action, let's say, automatic of instructing. There is the website of Giorgio Bongiovanni. Giorgio is a contactee. He is a stigmatized man. At this moment, he is in South America and receives messages from these cosmic beings and from the divine world. Recently, he wrote a very serious message, very serious, which corresponds, coincidentally, to the first analyses that I made on the crop circles. But I made them after Giorgio wrote that message. And what we are told by this entity is that nature will unleash a fierce war against humanity, because humanity is heading down the terrifying slope of the Third Nuclear World War. Liz Truss had said that she would use nuclear weapons if she became Prime Minister. She is Prime Minister. Then she shook hands with the Queen, and shortly afterward the Queen died, so she brings bad luck too. There is also Giorgio Bongiovanni's video channel, also here many conferences. In the events section of the site, you can stay informed about initiatives, about events that are conferences, interviews and seminars that I hold mainly in Italy, but sometimes also abroad. To participate online in the seminars, write to eventi@nuovocielonuovaterra.it. Then the events you can find on the Facebook page of the Associazione Nuovo Cielo Nuova Terra, of which I am the president, and also here you find the events. You can also subscribe to the newsletter. You find it at the bottom of the main page of the site, on the home page. where there is a form where you subscribe, so automatically you receive the newsletter with the information, mainly, about what I do. Or you can subscribe to the newsletter by writing to segreteria@piergiorgiocarria.it. Another tool to stay connected, Telegram. There is my Telegram channel, you subscribe, and you will receive the notifications. Then I also have Instagram, so there is a bit of everything. Next events. Next Sunday, I will be in Fermo. Initially, we had thought of the usual venue, but we decided to move to a slightly larger hall. It is the third episode of the theme on the Hollow Earth, a wonderful, beautiful theme, which contains mysteries concerning the future of humanity. Because inside the Earth, inside our planet, there is a gigantic continent where there is a city that is called El Dorado, which has a spaceport that is used by extraterrestrial civilizations to stop and come and go from our planet. It is the main spaceport that exists on our planet. I know that perhaps someone will say, "No way," but stay calm. Since I document, I do not make fairy tales or novels. In this seminar that will last various episodes, this is the third episode, I will address the topic of lost civilizations and of the physical routes of communication that from the outside of the planet lead inside. The planet where the inner continents are, and other secrets concerning the Hollow Earth. So I will talk a lot in this case about the underworld, about the lost civilizations that are all linked to the myth of El Dorado, of this fabulous, mythical golden city that many seek. For example, Colonel Fawcett or other researchers got lost in the jungles of South America looking for this fabulous city. Sometimes they call it Paititi or call it in other ways, but there is this extraordinary secret to which even one of the astronauts who went to the moon dedicated himself, because it is linked to the extraterrestrial theme. Then there are online events. There is this event, an online webinar. I will never do it in person. I did it only online. It is an analysis based on the science of the spirit, of the geopolitical situation, that is the true secret of why there is the war in Ukraine. The last war of the Antichrist, the present and the future according to the science of the spirit. So there is geopolitics, there is history, but all seen through the esoteric knowledge of the true causes and the true protagonists and of the true situations that have determined this terrible and very dangerous and very serious situation. The last war of the Antichrist. To have information, I said it before, eventi at nuovocielonuovaterra.it. The themes of the seminars are many, other stories addressed from the esoteric point of view, the immortal prince and the mysteries of Musine. Here I address the vicissitudes of a very important character who reappears several times in history. He is not the Apostle John, but he is another of the apostles who also plays an important role in this time, which links him to those mysterious phenomena that occur in Musine. Obviously, there are then seminars dedicated purely to ufology. UFO lying at all costs, from the cover-up to the alien threat, where I develop, I think they are 4 episodes. The why and what happened since the Pentagon, in 2017, began to say that these craft, after all, it is true that they are here. Another work, in my opinion interesting, I did an esoteric study, always with the science of the spirit, on what the exhibition on hell in Rome was. The gate of hell and the dark secrets of the elite, symbolisms and occult meanings on the diabolical plans for world domination. Several hours dedicated only to this theme. And this is another, I think it is the second episode on the Hollow Earth. I close, but I picked at random, and then the themes are many. In this case, in this date, in this event, I address the extraterrestrial revelations specifically on the mystery of birth, death, and reincarnation. It is the 13th episode of a seminar that I have been developing for years, dedicated only to karma and reincarnation. 13 whole days and I still have not finished. Think how much stuff there is. Well, let us come to today's theme, we and the extraterrestrials preparing for contact with cosmic civilizations.
L'aviazione extraterrestre opera sulla Terra.
Extraterrestrial aviation operates on Earth. Ufology has been thrown through a very successful manipulation. It has been thrown into TV comedy sketches. It has been thrown into the cauldron of New Age nonsense. And even here, a pseudo-religion has been created, that of believing in UFOs. But do you believe in UFOs? No, I do not need to believe in UFOs. If UFOs are objects, unidentified flying objects, I do not need to believe. I need to do research. If the UFO exists, research will give me the proof that it exists. If the UFO does not exist, research will give me the proof that the UFO does not exist. End of problem. Instead, they manipulated us through the media, through the ploy of the UFO joke, and if you believe in it, you are stupid. And since all those who are stupid are afraid of being discovered, then they obey. That is, no, I don't believe in UFOs, so you actually end up looking quite stupid. One does not believe. Religions are already a deception. Believing in God is one thing, but if God exists, He will give us signs, since science itself comes from God. Where else would science come from? If God exists, He created science, not Santa Claus. So deceptions upon deceptions upon deceptions that have devastated us, turning us, in fact, into mentally handicapped people, unable to manage our reality, unable to manage our society, unable to manage our own lives. So we must move from beliefs, from opinions that generate conflict among us, to facts. Extraterrestrial aviation operates extensively on Earth. They are here with an organized structure. They are not here with religious beliefs or nonsense of that kind. They are here with a very precise program, designed and organized on an astonishingly vast scale to help humanity in the most serious moment of its history. They give us proof of their presence by manifesting themselves. This sighting was allowed. August 6, 1997, an investigation I personally conducted together with Jaime Maussan. We found everything. There was a lady who lived in an apartment in this building, on the opposite side, who, when the UFO passed near her window, ran over because she saw this gray metal wall, which of course dimmed the light inside her apartment. Her cats were jumping around the room in panic, and she approached the window, and the energy of the flying saucer caused her a skin rash, like a sunburn. It was the last sighting. For 5 years, the extraterrestrials no longer gave any signs because the American government had planned a massive disinformation campaign. So they withdrew. Imagine, fellow ufologists changed professions because there were no sightings of any kind for 5 years. The witnesses remained anonymous. They were employees of an office facing these buildings in the Las Lomas district in Mexico City. And they were afraid of losing their jobs, so they never testified.
Aquí lo tengo. Pero qué pedo. Se ve poca madre. No lo creo, güey, no mames. Se ve perfecto. No mames. Se ve perfecto. Güey, no órale. Mames. Puta, estás grabando, cabrón, no mames. Sí, está el poquito prendido. Puta madre. Puta, se ve esa madre padrísimo. Qué pedo, qué bárbaro. No mames, ¿qué? O sea, no es un avión esa madre. ¿Qué pedo? No mames, cabrón. No lo veo.
Here the object disappears. We found a witness who lived in this building, on the other side, and he said that when the disc reached the back of the building, it shot horizontally forward and vanished in just a few moments. The two of them say a lot of swear words in Spanish. They are shocked, and one of them says, "But that's not a plane. Damn," and so on. So, an absolutely real case. One of the most widespread forms of visible extraterrestrial technology is the flying sphere. Flying spheres are telemetric monitoring probes that can transform their nature from metallic, as in this case, to energetic. They can render themselves invisible. They can pass through matter without disrupting it. They can do everything. And the extraterrestrials, with these probes, record and film all the super-secret meetings held by the powerful to enslave us, to organize wars, to starve populations, to create situations that only benefit their power. This is a sphere, in this case made of metal. The documents are not that many. The documents showing these spheres in energetic form are far more numerous. In this case, the sphere is quite low above the ground. The security guard Arturo Robles Gil, who is a dear friend. I've been to Mexico many times. I was there even this February because I collaborated on a television program for the Mexican national TV, again with Mausan. You see, the object is quite low. Look at the reflections. It reflects the landscape below. The dark areas are the scenery underneath. But the bright part is clearly visible. Above, it reflects the sky. It's a gray day. The object is static in the sky. We estimate it is about 2 or 3 meters in diameter. It's not tiny, see? It's a spherical object of clearly metallic nature. Flying spheres, I made a documentary that aired on Rai. So these beings are not here with beliefs. They are here with structure, technology, aviation, pilots, logistics, bases, coordination. Still in Mexico, look at this extraordinary photo. It's a series of photos. Flying spheres that the photographer sees flying in the sky, in a group, and manages to photograph. They're not little balls like the ones in ball bearings, but rather fairly large objects, see? Because the area of light reflection is relatively small compared to the dark area. This is the first clue from which you can immediately understand whether the object is small, maybe just a handful of marbles thrown in the air, or whether it is a larger object. And this is understood. A professional photographer understands it when the illuminated area is so sharp compared to the shadowed area. Let's come to Italy. Here we are on the outskirts of Ferrara. A classic flying saucer photographed by a young man I know, but he also asked to remain anonymous for fear of repercussions in his workplace. You see, the object is huge. It is almost entirely in shadow, and the area where it reflects sunlight is extremely small. So this is a very large object in the sky. Here you can even see the witness's girlfriend. Look, observing the object, which is clearly positioned closer to us than to her, so to speak. These are the enlargements. The object is not static. You can see that the size and position of the object also change. So the object is tilting with a movement that we researchers call a dead leaf motion. Because these objects are not flying ships. They are, let's say, vessels that navigate along the flow lines of the field. Now, since the field is wavy and pulsating, the Earth's field, these objects also display this movement. Just like a boat, for example, when there are some waves at sea, gets moved by the swell. Now I have an exceptional document on which I am finishing an article. It was recorded in Essenes on July 27, 2022, 2 days after I visited this family at their home. The head of the family is named Graziano Correas, and for more than 2 years they have been filming it. And every 2 or 3 days the sphere arrives, positioning itself above their house, either leaving immediately or sometimes staying there for up to 40 minutes. And at this point there is a landing air corridor toward the Cagliari-Elmas airport. And look what happens. I was there on the 25th. We had a sighting together. Moreover, the sphere, seen with the naked eye, looks much more like that metallic sphere filmed in Mexico City. So we saw the object. It came toward us quite slowly. When it reached the vertical above the house, so we were looking straight up at it, it rose vertically and disappeared into the sky. And I said, "You'll see that now our sky brothers will give us a sign that will silence everyone who accuses you of filming weather balloons." And look what happened. This is an excerpt of the full video.
Stop! Go up now! It's blurry. Wait, come down again. Go up a bit. Okay, now it's perfect.
Yes, I see it.
Go up. Today it's clear, eh? Wow,
What was that?
the plane passed close to it.
Did you see? I filmed it.
Yeah,
So it passed.
This is a sign, Ro, right?
yeah.
So basically you hear the voices of Graziano and his wife Rossella.
Did you see? I caught it well.
So Graziano has a small camera. It's not professional. In fact,
Yeah, but it showed up well, eh?
Yes.
he manages to generate this zoom because he enlarges it digitally. So the image is not sharp and defined as it should be. So it makes the sphere look a bit blurred, let's say, because it's very pixelated. Did you see? The plane passed extremely close to it, and the sphere did not move a millimeter. It stayed right there. Can you imagine the air displacement, the turbulence generated by an airliner flying at that distance? The object remains there, so it has its own flight stability, its own energy. It is absolutely not a weather balloon or something inflated with gas, because it truly does not move. This is a very slowed down image. Look. You see, the wing briefly overlaps the sphere. Moreover, notice that the sphere is large if you compare it to the size of the airplane's engine. See? It's a very large object. It must be at least 3 meters in diameter, possibly 5, because it is very high. There we are at around 500 meters, I presume. Here is the frame in which you clearly see the terminal part of the airliner wing overlapping the sphere. And the sphere stays there, so it is an absolutely non-human object. And this family, I repeat, has been filming them for more than 2 years now, and they have recorded others in recent days as well. I am waiting to see if there is an evolution, because it's not like you publish it every time you film a sphere. I wait for videos that have significant value, and that document the clear non-terrestrial nature of this aviation. Here we have a beautiful flying saucer, photographed in a small town in Valle Hermoso. about 60,000 inhabitants, in the state of Tamaulipas, Mexico, on August 17, 2022. Mr. Juan Manuel Sanchez, nicknamed Juanito Juan, is a car body repairman who has his workshop under his house, and he goes outside because he sees these heavy storm clouds arriving, which he considers unusual. He steps outside and sees this large object, still static in the sky. He wanted to film it, but he had forgotten that he had set his phone into photo mode. So he presses the button and takes the first picture. As soon as he takes the first picture, the object starts to rise. So he takes 2 more. Then he presses to switch to video mode, and the object shoots upward at very high speed and disappears. Beside it, there is a small object, which is one of these probes. Because the flying saucer is moved and kept in an anti-gravity state by a swirling electromagnetic field, which allows it to perform the fabulous and astonishing maneuvers typical of flying saucers. Now, these energy fields, depending on the type of technology being used, disturb short-range visibility near the object. And so, what do? They emit, moreover, one of the witnesses, there were 3, Sanchez, his wife, and a friend, I think, or a female friend. And one of the witnesses saw this small object come out of the main craft. And they use these orbiting spheres as cameras, which send back to the spacecraft the visibility they cannot have from inside, for the reason I just mentioned.
Visibilità, diciamo che loro dall'interno non riescono ad avere per il motivo che vi ho detto. Ecco, negli ingrandimenti
Here, in the enlargements, you can see it more clearly. Here, too, the area of sunlight reflection is extremely small. And the dark part of the disk is very distinct. Moreover, the disk is made of highly reflective silver metal, and being so low, it reflects the entire surrounding landscape. These are the 3 phases of the disk's ascent, in the exact position it maintained. So this is the flight path. An extraordinary document, testifying that in this world there exists a powerful, vast extraterrestrial technological structure. If we consider the logistical and technological effort required to send spacecraft to other worlds, and given that they have sent them here, I believe in the hundreds of thousands, including the pilots, then there is a very important project that these societies have in relation to what is happening on this planet. So the belief-based UFO narrative was a scam we fell for, but if I have the documents, I don't need to believe. I know. I become aware of important facts that have a major impact on the history of our society. The powerful of the world are very worried about all of this because they have the data in a much broader way than we can have through the military, astronomers, astronauts, and so on. So, something of enormous importance is happening in our world, but civil society doesn't know it. A portion of those who know fall into the trap of ufological belief. A small portion who know may fall into the trap of New Age sentimentalism. I put on the little music, I light the incense, the extraterrestrial comes, oh how wonderful, I'm all blissful. No. On board these objects, there are engineers, highly educated pilots who come from other worlds. They are not people who come here to put on a UFO fair with incense. Are we insane? They are here with a program related to atomic bombs, to wars, to injustice, to mafias. This is why these beings are here. To the failures of the healthcare system. They are here to lend a hand to that healthy part of the population, to rebuild terrestrial humanity, because a legal process is underway that will put an end to the criminal wrongdoing of those who govern the world. But if we don't get our behinds off the chair and collaborate, we will be considered accomplices, aligned with a criminal system. This is Juan Manuel Sanchez. Here he is. You see, in his home courtyard there is scrap metal, typical, let's say, of body shops. This is an enlargement of the disc. The photos were attacked because they went around the world, thanks to their extraordinary clarity. They were generated with some such software. Another problem. On average, a citizen reads a discrediting article and immediately believes it. But look, they're fake. But have you done any research? No. You read an article and so it's fake because in the end we are mentally manipulated anyway. It's not fake. Do some research. I did research. I have already translated, together with my collaborators, a couple of interviews that I will publish shortly, where Sanchez also says, I was a bit afraid they would make fun of me, but in the end these are important documents and it's necessary to disseminate them. Is the point clear, friends? On our planet, there is a structure that has a power allowing them to do anything. And I'm not talking only about technology that keeps large objects in flight. I'm talking about a science capable of taking any one of us and transforming us into a genius. They have technologies that can raise a human being's intelligence quotient within a few seconds. This is what they do with their operators. They modify them. They enhance their abilities. Because they have very few operators, they can't find many, and they must take on an enormous workload. So they need modifications on the biological level, on the mental level, on the soul level, because their science allows access to all three levels of the human being: the physical, the soul, and the spiritual. They have technologies that can extract the spirit from a body, place that body into a state of suspended animation where it does not age, and incarnate that spirit into the body of a child or of someone who has just died. Sometimes they place the spirits of their own extraterrestrials into children, 8, 9, 10 years old, who have just died in an accident. They put the spirit back in, resurrect them, and let them live, because that spirit placed in that body will become one of their operators. I have already known several cases like this. Think of that knowledge. Think of that science. If they want, they can take my body, I'm 63, and bring it back to 20, while leaving completely intact my consciousness, my experience, my abilities. These societies are absolute societies. They control life. They control death. They know the laws that govern creation. This is the nature of the contact. This is why the powerful of the world have their buttocks clenched so tightly that if you insert a needle, it won't go through. They are terrified because they have understood that the day these beings decide to come down, nothing will stop them. So why don't they land? Because they have a project. They are trying to gather from human society a number of beings suitable for rebuilding the new terrestrial civilization.
Di esseri adatti a rifondare la nuova civiltà terrestre.
They need about 7.5 million. They are struggling to find them. So until they reach that number, they will not land, because if that number is not reached, planet Earth dies. Because we are an enzyme of the Earth. Namely, the Earth, in order to live as a living entity, needs a minimum number of enzymes, just like a cell. A cell has enzymes. Without enzymes, the cell dies. And without enzymes, we cannot digest. If there is an imbalance in the intestinal flora, we feel sick, our belly swells, and we start producing gas. Well, these days, that's not so bad, eh? It helps. Maybe we should suggest that the Ministry of Commerce buy a lot of beans. The world situation is frighteningly dangerous. We are in crisis on every level. I put up this image paraphrasing a quote by Baron Rothschild. We are sailing in unknown waters. And if the most powerful family in the world says it, we must believe it, because they are not people who speak at random. So today there is a need for change. But in the end, we do not know how this change should take place. On what basis? And this is complicated because every revolution has arisen from a new idea, from a new ideal. Communism, the communist ideal, born from Karl Marx's book Capital, truly caused a planetary upheaval. It was a new idea. So what power fears the most are new ideas. So what have these geniuses of evil done? They have educated the people to their own values: careerism, hedonism, selfishness, success, sex, indifference. So, in a scenario where the people have the same values, the same ethics as the power structure, no revolution is possible, no change is possible. Then they placed us in a perpetual state of belligerence over opinions. But I don't think so. And based on what? Well, I feel it. Yes, but if you are an imbecile, you feel as an imbecile. Just because you feel it doesn't make it a universal and revealed truth. They have turned us into a bunch of fools, idiots, incapable of reasoning. We must unite because power means domination. And if you have nothing to dominate, you have no power. So for them to be powerful, they must have underneath them a human mass that they manipulate, direct, and enslave, because their wealth comes from us. Those people certainly don't work. They handle only monetary capital, determining political changes, health system changes, changes of every kind that guarantee the stability of their power and the stability of our slavery. This is how human society works. You all know a man named Soros?
Yes.
His open society, the LGBTQRSTUVZ agenda. All these ideologies come from that world. They are fueled through media, writers are financed, journalists, ideologues who promote absurd and deranged theories that serve their power, their plan of domination. So if we share their same values, we will always remain their slaves, because they have billions, capital, while we have tax bills from Equitalia. Well, at least that's something. So today we need a new vision of life, new values, new parameters that allow us to imagine a future of our own, different from the one they are selling us. Transhumanism and all that garbage, 5G, electrification of the planet, implanting microchips above and below. They have conceived a frighteningly terrible and satanic society, a slavery, a society of control where you no longer own anything. They said it. The Great Reset, you will own nothing, but you will be happier. So, in a condition of devastating loss of our fundamental freedoms, you can only be happy if you are a total idiot, an ignorant person who understands nothing about anything. And they are succeeding, because with the devices they have spread, smartphones and so on, now there is Meta with virtual reality and so on, they are inserting us into a technological pipeline, and that's it. They eliminate cash, they control what is in your credit card, This is already happening in China. They freeze your account if you cause trouble, and you are ruined. So I don't want a future like this. So there cannot be a positive revolution that solves problems and puts an end to wars, to the risk of nuclear holocaust, and brings us into a new era of peace, brotherhood, abundance, material, and spiritual well-being if there is no new vision of life. We need a new vision of life, but we need a scientific vision of life. Because if there is no science, if there is no mathematical science of universal laws, our projects will fail as they always do. We need a human being who truly understands the real causes that generated the terrible situation we are in. A prime minister who says, "I will press the nuclear button," is not speaking only about England. It concerns Italy too. It concerns South Africa. It concerns Argentina. Because a nuclear holocaust fries all of us, no one survives. And the audience applauded when that woman said those terrible things. What state is our mind in? Thanks to God, this new vision of life and this science are brought to us by these civilizations, whose structure, yes, serves to dismantle the power of these people, but they will only do it if they have a new human being. So these groups that are formed, which we call arcs, have the main purpose of assimilating this knowledge and becoming points where this knowledge becomes practical. I mean, it becomes structure, otherwise it's useless. If this science had not transformed my life, then what did I study it for? What did I do? What was the point of leaving Sardinia, leaving the state railways, facing the ridicule of my family and all the friends I had? Because Korea went crazy. He believes in UFOs. That's what my friends thought, that I had become mentally ill. Because I believed in UFOs and was starting to make choices that seemed insane. My mother never understood it. You left the state railways? Impossible. It's an archaeological relic now. Permanent contracts no longer exist. They've disappeared. You have to go to a museum to see one. So either one is crazy, or one has discovered something truly important. I discovered something truly important to which I decided to dedicate my life. Because I discovered that there is a real, certain process of change happening in human society. For one reason only, there is power. In the end, society is only a matter of power. The strongest wins. I discovered a power governed, finally, I could hardly believe it, by wise men full of love. Men of immense power, but they are wise and full of love. I didn't want to believe it. I told them, I want to see you. I want to collaborate with you, but I want to see you, because if you satisfy my request, it wasn't about seeing them like, oh, wonderful, I saw the ET or the spacecraft. It was the answer I wanted, the confirmation that they were accepting my proposal to collaborate. I want to collaborate with you. The project that Eugenio explained to me is extraordinary. I, too, want to travel the cosmos. On Mars, they make ice creams you couldn't even imagine. I want to go to Mars. But I didn't believe blindly. I went searching for the evidence, and I did it worldwide. I did it with such seriousness and intention that I became a researcher, a documentarian who worked for RAI and many other broadcasters, until the extraterrestrials told me, enough, leave TV, focus on the audience. When I say, the extraterrestrials told me, I am not a contactee, I am a researcher, a professional who collaborates with other professionals from other worlds. So I don't see the flying saucer land, the ET comes down. Good evening, Caria, how are you? Fine, how are you? But over time, these beings have accustomed me to a communication channel where, obviously, I receive directives about the things I must do, and also protection. Otherwise, I would be thrown into a sack and disappear in 5 minutes. So I have protection. There is a team of invisible bodyguards who follow and protect me. And directors, let's call them that, who tell me, do this, do that. Now we need you to go here, now there. I am, let's say, a collaborator. I collaborate in this grand project of saving humanity, which power fears. So, thank you, but I pass this applause entirely on to them, because without them, nothing can be done here, truly. These beings are magical. They are magical beings. I cannot find a word to define them. Since I have had direct personal experience myself, their seriousness, their sensitivity, their respect, to see a being who is powerful, but powerful not because he has money or a gun, powerful because he has powers. Science. Powerful, yet humble, respectful, and full of love, who wants to help you. It is shocking. I have had this experience. It is shocking. It overwhelms you, because you are literally intoxicated with love. You become almost overwhelmed, like a fool. And it is dangerous because you no longer want to live in this world, you want to die. I went through some very hard months when they accepted my request and came with the spacecraft. We communicated, no one came down, thank goodness, or I would have dropped dead. They are magical. So humanity faces a present and a near future that are terrible, but a more distant future that is unimaginably beautiful. Death will disappear, illness will disappear, we will no longer grow old. We will travel through the cosmos. Politicians will disappear, the clergy will disappear, every kind of weapon and military industry will disappear, as will every mad scientist who builds atomic bombs. All of that will vanish. There will be happiness, but we have to earn it.
Ma ce la dobbiamo guadagnare.
We have to earn it. It is the only way to live together with them and understand the foundational values on which their societies are built. In their societies, government is entrusted to the most loving, most generous beings, and the most educated. So the wisest, most loving, most generous are those who govern their societies, because with their instruments, they can see your soul, and from that understand who you are, so you cannot deceive anyone. And the average level of education in those societies is such that a child in their kindergarten corresponds to a human with multiple degrees. A kindergarten child corresponds to someone with multiple university degrees on our planet. So when they reach an age apparently similar to ours, also because in these highly advanced societies the period of childhood lasts 2 years, they become adults immediately because social management and the preparation of the young are of such a high level that human maturation is extremely rapid. So if they are already multi-degree level when they are children, by the age of 20 to 25, they are monsters of science. And they will help us. They already are helping us by giving us this science. But if we do not change and move at least a little closer to them, coexistence is impossible. It is like a thief living in a society of police officers. He can't handle it. He kills himself. Impossible. Or like a tax evader living in a society of tax police. He cannot handle it. He feels awful. So let us step a little, just a little, into the values of these societies. And these values have been conveyed to us by the contactees, through the contactees. So in the early 1950s, I am something of an anomaly. I am a researcher who has embraced and studied their science, because the trap of manipulation through the media has led ufologists, for fear of being accused of being fanatics of the UFO religion, to reject a priori the extraterrestrial message. They study only the car. They reject the message. They study the technology, but the technology did not arise by itself. It comes from these beings, yet that part they don't study. I, on the other hand, have studied both the technological aspect, but above all, I have learned and delved into the science they bring us, because that is the real gift, the true present, the most important thing. Why? Because, my friends, they could land and free us, but then they would only have freed a mass of ignorant people who are unable to live according to those laws. So we have to prepare ourselves to reach a very low threshold level. Very low, but indispensable at least to understand whether we want to live with them. If not, you simply cannot manage it. You cannot manage it. And so they give us this knowledge. In the messages they have spread, they have emphasized above all the need to restore balance between material sciences and spiritual sciences. Without ethics, science becomes self-destructive. A gene-based serum simply must not be created, must not be produced. The atomic bomb must not be made. You cannot put something out into the world that might end up killing us all. It is stupid, supremely stupid. Yet we have tens of thousands of nuclear warheads. We block, for reasons of mere economic interest, new energy technologies. And we produce electricity with nuclear power plants that generate tons of radioactive waste that remains dangerous for 100,000 years, 200,000 years, 1 billion years. We must not do this stuff. It cannot be done. Do you know what the trick is? What the scam of civilian nuclear power plants is? They exist to offload onto the population the enormous cost of producing artificial fissile materials for atomic bombs. In other words, we paid for the atomic bombs, while they fooled us by saying it was to produce electricity. Genius of evil. I was a friend of Rolando Pelizza, the one who built the Majorana machine. That would have freed the world. Free energy for everyone. They did not want it, because it would have ended their power. These people are very dangerous. So this information is indispensable, extremely precious, fundamental so that we can develop a new vision of life, new values and knowledge needed to renew society. But society is us. So if each one of us does not renew himself or herself, society cannot be renewed. It is not something that comes from outside. Renewal can only be done by you. No one else can do it for you. So without assimilating and making these parameters our own, already experimenting with them now before they land, coexistence and contact with them are impossible. If I had not assimilated this knowledge and applied it to my personal life, I could not have done this work for them. I would not be able to do it. If this science were not truly powerful, and if I had not assimilated it, I would not have been able to change my life. So if you follow this line of thought, practice this science, but your life does not change afterwards, something is wrong. This knowledge is given to us so that we may apply it and change our lives for the better. Of course, there are difficulties. But compare remaining an ignorant slave who thinks everything is solved by 22 overpaid idiots kicking a ball around, with instead discovering the eternity of your spiritual essence, discovering the cosmos, breaking free from the slavery of banks, stopping paying protection money to a criminal government. These are not small things, they are important things. But they will not be given to us for free, meaning the opportunity is offered, but we must do our own sacred work. So these groups work within society. Giovanni does a holy work. He helps children in Italy and abroad. He left his home in the Marca region, moved to Palermo to be closer to the neighborhoods where Cosa Nostra operates, and to help those children, taking away from the mafia the human material with which it proliferates. But after we have done this, we must change our mindset. We are in desperate need of finally having the power to manage the things in our lives, of having a knowledge that brings us success. We must succeed. Our life is precious. It should be a fascinating journey, something wonderful. Not a slavery where you do a crappy job you don't like just because you don't have the right pieces of paper in your pocket, and so you are a slave to the banks. Moreover, Little Dragon Mario told us to our face that we are slaves because he said the ECB has unlimited funds. But if the ECB has unlimited funds, then why are you making us die in poverty? Now they have quadrupled our electricity bills. But it is just speculation. The war in Ukraine has nothing to do with it. They are just manipulating market prices, using the smokescreen of fear of war, but it has nothing to do with it. Our corrupt rulers made sure the Nord Stream 2 was not opened, which would have brought gas to all of Europe. This is what is happening. We are slaves, and we need to get out of this slavery. But you do not escape slavery because some extraterrestrial Che Guevara arrives and frees you. No one is going to free a mass of idiots and ignorance. They will come to free those who have done their homework. But be careful, they are not simply waiting. While we are doing our homework, they help us with these technologies. I could not do what I do, could not memorize such an enormous amount of data if I did not have their help. And this help is for everyone. It is not a help that will exist only when they land. It exists now. This structure works for us for free. For free. I have not paid any alien to help me do what I do. Goodwill is enough for them, because they are absolute civilizations. They have everything. When you have a technology that allows you to travel through all universes, you no longer need anything. You have all the resources of infinite uninhabited planets, and you can take whatever you want from them. For them, diamonds and gold have no meaning. They are like little seashells for indigenous peoples. They have no value. What has value is life. The quality of life is what matters. Because even the rich often live crappy lives. Excuse the French. Money does not bring happiness, but it is an extremely powerful tool of slavery. And this matter of contact is so important, so fundamental in human history, that it has even been foreseen by mystics and seers. The first one, their leader, whose name is Jesus Christ, says it in the Gospels. Matthew 24. He, meaning Christ, will send out his angels with a trumpet blast, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. Who can gather the elect from one end of the heavens to the other, namely, from all over planet Earth? An aviation force that already 2,000 years ago was on our planet and operated with Christ, because he is their leader. Christ is a military leader. Peter, put your sword back into its sheath, for if I wished, I would ask my Father, and he would send me more than 12 legions of angels. Legion, a military term, a Roman word, not a Jewish one. Christ uses a Roman term because he is a military leader. Christ is not a chief, a religious creed. Jesus is a human being like us. At this moment, yes, Lord, I'm talking about you for a moment because he just turned and said, "What?" Right now, Jesus is somewhere doing something. On this planet, because he has returned. Someone wrote to me, "Karia, you create confusion, because on the one hand you say that Jesus has returned, on the other, you say that Jesus must return. When we talk about the second coming of Jesus, we refer to his glorious manifestation. So Jesus has returned. He has been on Earth since 1951, and he is the director who coordinates this entire technological apparatus. But he must reveal himself, so there is a hidden coming and a public revelation, because right now he is the investigating judge who is gathering the evidence that will condemn the criminals and all those who have conformed to a delinquent society. The trial is underway. It is nearing its end. When he will manifest himself, there will be no more time. He will issue the sentence because he is both the investigating judge and the judge who condemns. It will be terrible. A trumpet blast, because in ancient times, great events were announced with trumpet blasts. Hear ye, hear ye. So it is a grand announcement where the angels save the elect. Elect for what? To be those who will rebuild human society. Nostradamus, Quatrain 191. The gods and humans shall appear. To the blind authors of the great conflict that they shall bring about in spring, the sky seeming serene, sword and spear, and near the main hand on the left, there shall be the greatest affliction, or consternation. I read it again. The superior beings will appear to all humanity, even to those powerful ones blinded by power, who will unleash a nuclear conflict in spring, on a clear day, sword and spear. The war will break out that will cause the greatest destruction in the West, the left hand. Will take place during a terrible catastrophe. We have never truly known the Maya. The Maya disappeared from Yucatan and all their territories 800 years before the arrival of the Spaniards. The Spaniards arrived in the Maya region and found the cities empty, already claimed by the jungle. In the religious fanaticism of the Catholic missionaries, almost everything that constituted Maya literature was destroyed. Only a very few codices were saved. One is the Dresden Codex. I believe there are about 70 tablets, and there is a prophecy concerning contact. Woe to the earth! The end of the Jaguar Knights will come. Who are the destroyers of life? The killers, the Jaguar Knights. The end of the Jaguar Knights will come, and the beginning of a new era that will rise from the ashes of the previous one, and it will be the time of the encounter with the lords of the stars. Fatima, October 13th, 1917, part of the prophecy, also removed from the diplomatic version. And in that time, in the second half of the 20th century, cosmic beings will come from distant shores of the universe in the name of God. What does "in the name of God" mean? It means under the aegis of the great universal laws that govern. Proof? Yes. Yes, Father. Don't get angry. No, it's a period in which Adonai is a little irritated. He is a little irritated. And therefore, when I say certain things, he sends the signal. Yes, Father, yes. Chamomile? No, I'm joking. But God is truly angry. In the name of God, therefore these beings come in the name of the universal laws, that is science, that govern spiritual evolution. Padre Pio. That they are the same beings of the Bible, we can also infer from his words. The angels will descend from heaven and will bring upon the earth the spirit of peace. Therefore, this event has been known for centuries by all the societies of the world because it is the greatest event in the history of humanity. It is the end of slavery. It is the end of cosmic isolation, which has been determined by the fact that we kill. We commit on an industrial scale the most terrible crime. We arrogate to ourselves the right to take the life of one of our own kind. It is the most bestial, disgusting, horrific thing that a human being can do, kill his brother. We are one. We are a single family. We live in a single home, which is planet Earth. We are not enemies. They made us become enemies through deception, through manipulation, by taking away what is good from us, by taking away what is rightfully ours, which belongs to all of us. A little piece of water, a little piece of air, a little piece of planet. It is a sacred right because we exist. This is the truth that those in power do not like. They do not like this story. In the concept of these beings, they say, but what kind of condition are you in? That is, you pay in order to live? That is, you pay a banker in order to live? Are you crazy? How can you accept such a system? That is, you are born from a mother's womb just like them, and you have to pay them in order to live. When it is you who work, you build the roads, you build the buildings. We work, they do not. They manipulate us with pieces of paper, putting it into our heads that an economy without money is not possible. But money is created by man. Therefore, we are slaves of those who print money. And gold and money, Mario Draghi says it, they have it in unlimited quantity. As long as there is paper running through a printing press or a keyboard creating little numbers on a monitor, you generate money. We are their slaves. We are slaves of money printers who tell us straight to our faces, we have it in unlimited quantity. And then why don't you give it to me? It is insane. It is a psychotic, mad state to accept that in order to live, one must pay someone. God did not ask for money to create us. A human invention has become more important than life. Do you have money? You live, you heal yourself, you dress, you travel, you study. Don't have money, you die. What is this? Can this be called civilization? No. Society is a group of individuals who collaborate for the common good. This is a society, not a pack of madmen fighting one another. manipulated from above by these ferocious criminals to whom we have handed over our lives. It is a condition, from the point of view of these civilizations, incomprehensible how intelligent beings can allow themselves to be deceived and manipulated at this level. And they cannot understand why we do not make a revolution. But why do you accept to live in such a disgusting way? You accept wars. You accept hunger in the world. You accept the destitution of peoples. You accept the criminal nature of your rulers. What kind of people are you? Yet they care about us and they want to help us. But we must reflect on these things, because that young man there, Dennis's cousin Jesus, will hold us accountable. He will hold us accountable. You are accomplices. Because if I take Bill Gates, literally Guglielmo Cancelli in Italian, if I take Guglielmo Cancelli, that one, he argued with the company that sold combs, he never combs his hair. If I take Guglielmo Cancelli, Mario Draghi, Ursula von der Leyen, von der Leyen and I put them all together, with their riches on a desert island, with some monkeys. Are they powerful? They are not powerful. They are powerful because they bark and we obey. That is power. They bark and we obey. They bark and we are afraid. They bark and we pay. Not with money. Money is the effect of our work. You work for money. You work as a slave because you don't like your work. You are a slave to money. You are their slave. It takes very little to understand this. How?
They don't only bark, they bite.
They only bite only for... Now it's your problem. What is your name? Marco. They bite because the majority of society bends over backwards, because otherwise they wouldn't bite. They bite because a good portion of ignorant slaves accept to be the guardians of their power, and they beat, they club and they persecute their brothers, because they are sons of the people who betray them. That is why they bite, but they do not bite themselves. They make you get bitten by the one next to you, by the other slave. They put us against one another, therefore the problem is not them. Mario, right? Marco? Marco. The problem is us. Do we want to understand this? The problem of the world is the people who do not want to change and who loudly demand cheap salvation. We must put an end to this story. We are the ones who must change. They will not change. The rich already have their rewards. The problem is us, who accept to live a hellish life, hoping to preserve until the very end that little corner of comfort, which is already written that you will lose. This is the truth, Marco. The problem is the people. For this reason, the extraterrestrials speak to them, also to the powerful, but the answer of the powerful is always no. Therefore, these beings have amplified and revealed to us that knowledge that was already part of the spiritual heritage of humanity, but which has been thrown away, distorted and destroyed in the infernal chaos of religious beliefs. The great themes of birth, death, reincarnation that concern all of us are scientific facts, not religious ones. Reincarnation cannot be a religious fact, Because if I am a spirit incarnated in a body like you, can you explain to me how a religious belief can be combined with a physical scientific fact, which is the body? It is a... Can I say it? It is bullshit. If I, as is true, am a spirit and I am in a body, there is a scientific structure that allows me, the spirit, to govern the body. It is called the soul. The Soviets called it the form structuring field. The soul allows dialogue between the body and the spirit. I say, index finger, bend. It bends. Index finger, straighten. It straightens. Who does this work? Why can I do it? I give an order, and the body obeys. There is a structure. It is science. Can a religious belief cause a finger to move? I do not want to make an obscene gesture with my fingers. I take it back because it is about to slip out. They manipulated us. Reincarnation is a scientific fact. It is not a religious belief. Karma, the law of cause and effect, is what determines our condition. Wrong actions, disastrous effects, slavery. For this reason we... Yes, Father, he confirmed it. Science of the spirit, science of matter, the two exhibitionistic aspects, that is manifestative and experimental aspects, of the all-creating intelligence, alias the Holy Spirit. They are two values, these two complementary. Therefore, they must integrate in perfect balance because they stabilize the evolution of species in the manifestative process of continuous becoming. Continuous becoming because we are eternal. Once created, we will never die. We enter and leave physical bodies to acquire experience, knowledge, and consciousness. It is a course of study that the spirit undertakes in order to return to its true nature fully conscious. You are gods, and you will do greater things than I, Christ said. For now we are fools, though, but stupidity can be remedied. This is our destiny. Do we want to understand it? Jesus came for this. He did not come to wash away our karma because he says, "Go, your faith has saved you. But do not sin anymore or something worse will happen to you." Therefore, he is true. He lightened the karma of humanity by giving his precious blood, but he gave us a teaching to apply. Love your neighbor as yourself. And then he comes back to ask account of our actions. And later we will read what he left written. Excerpt from one of these texts that I offer you. From the booklet before the landing, you will be able to learn the secrets of life and death. You will even be able to give life again to a human form. But will you be able to eliminate from it terror, selfishness, jealousy, envy, greed, and hatred? Can we do this? Because the real problem is, what is the point of living if then you live a terrible life? It is the quality of life that matters, not a biological body that eats, digests, and poops. That is not life. Animals do the same, microbes the same. It is the quality of life, the level of our relationships, the quality of our feelings, the beauty of our social relationships, the level of culture that we study. This is the life of an intelligent being. Not eating and sitting on a toilet, that is not life. Will you ever be able to instill a sense of absolute brotherhood into the human intellect? No. This is a work that belongs to each individual. We must do it. Each one of us. No one can change a man's character except himself. He can be taught how to do it, but how will even just this be possible when those who are at the helm of his moral and psychological progress, that is our rulers, have corrupted the meaning of cosmic laws? Do you see why they fear extraterrestrials? Not for their spacecraft, not for their anti-gravity rays, or those that disintegrate. They fear their ideas. For this reason, contactism has been banned from ufology, and ufologists, who are human, have fallen for it like fools. They study the machine, but they do not study the builder of the machine. For this reason, extraterrestrial literature is important. We consider an absolutely true and indisputable fact that all human beings, regardless of race, sex, social condition, religious belief, are born, grow old, and die. All of us are subject, willingly or unwillingly, to this law. Therefore, from this we clearly understand that the natural course of human life is not governed by religious beliefs, but by universal natural laws, and therefore scientific ones, which are above us, and which are the same for everyone, regardless of the professed religious belief. We can therefore suppose that these natural laws are active and effective even after death, and therefore also after the physical part disappears. If we translate this concept into the scientific field, we can suppose that even the world of the afterlife is governed by these laws, which remanifest in tangible form at the moment when the spirit returns to matter, that is, reincarnates. The law of karma, the law of cause and effect, you carry with you the good things and the bad things that you have done. Only this can explain the apparent injustice of life. Where I was born in Italy, I can put on a white linen suit and a child dies of hunger in Biafra and will never know even a piece of linen because he has no pieces of paper. From this arises the injustice in the world. Sex, the race, the continent, the culture that we incarnate, is established by the previous actions we have carried out. And we are generating our future now. Because karma does not come only from the past, karma is built day by day. The karma of the past can be erased through knowledge, by which you burn that karma. It is a debt to be paid. It is a wrong to be compensated. It is a caress you did not give and one you must give. It is a hug you did not give and one you must give. This is karma. Knowing these laws, we can establish balance in our life. So true that these laws are universal, that even plants and animals are not exempt from the natural law of being born, growing, aging, and dying. So what do religious believers have to do with it? But unlike the lower world, plant and animal, we have one thing: free will. Free will. That is, we can choose. We can say yes. We can say no. That is, we have an extraordinary power, which is that of determining, with our actions, the quality of our life. For this reason, I said it is useless to attend circles of lovers of extraterrestrials if you do not study their sciences, if you do not apply them in your life, and if you do not improve the quality of your life. You are only fooling yourself. These laws must be applied, because they have an incredible power. Law of cause and effect, the main cornerstone of the science of the spirit, explained by the extraterrestrials. But it is also in the gospel. It is the universal law of cause and effect, from which derives, as I have already widely said, our existential condition, both in the material worlds, when we are incarnated, and in the spiritual worlds, when we leave the body. For every action, there is always a reaction. That is, every action of ours always entails a consequence. Whether they see you, whether they do not see you, whether the judge knows it, whether the human judge does not know it. The law always knows everything you do, because there is a natural system of energies and structures, which they explained. I know them. That measure 24 hours a day the ethical level of our actions, not of our thoughts. Thoughts do not count. Actions count. But obviously, a negative thought repeated continuously eventually determines a negative action. Therefore, we must also control the quality of our thought. This is a concept known by the Eastern term karma, but it has not been understood even by those societies. In fact, in India, which is the cradle of the Hindu religion, there are terrifying injustices, people who die of hunger, and the government has nuclear bombs, which cost an enormous amount of money. So of Gandhi, they understood nothing. Therefore, it is neither understood nor applied in daily life by human beings. For every action, there is a reaction, which generates in one's life a real, similar, and amplified effect. He who wounds by the sword shall perish. Wound, perish, because the infraction is paid in the physical world and in the spiritual world. Obviously, also the good action, you receive it as a positive effect in the physical world, and afterwards also in the spiritual world. Therefore, every choice of ours, every action of ours entails an enormous responsibility by virtue of this law of cause and effect. We may succeed in escaping human law, the judge, the police officer, the financial police, but we cannot avoid the consequences of universal law, which determines concretely with certainty and justice our condition on this side and on the other side. Extraterrestrial message, cause-effect, an inviolable law. If you sow thistles, you reap thistles. If you sow lilies, you reap lilies. If the cause is unjust, unjust will be the effects. Wisdom would lie in evaluating the effects, even before the cause is determined. I must make a choice. Is it an ethical choice or not? Because if I make it, it will give me a temporary advantage, but then I will pay dearly for it. Do you see the condition of politicians? The experiences lived throughout the evolutionary arc of the species have granted knowledge about the development of effects arising from certain causes. That is, we know what making wars entails. Why do we not stop making wars? That is, we continuously repeat the same mistake. History, life, teach us nothing. That is, we fail to change. But human beings, despite the acquisition of negative values, continue to re-experience the causes that determine deadly effects, thus interrupting a rapid evolutionary ascent of the human species, and of all the other components, which collaborate in the health of body and mind, that is, the lower kingdoms, animal and plant, toward the peaceful coexistence of matter with spirit. The present time carries in its womb the stubborn perseverance toward harmful causes, with the results well known from everyday news. It is necessary to change the causes if one wishes to exit the tunnel of the many ailments that afflict humankind. With words alone or with prayers alone, one does not change the iron and insurmountable law, cause, effect. All this discourse leads us to some considerations, which are these. If from the plane of faith, as it has been in history until today, we move to the plane of spiritual science, this changes our relationship with God, with spirituality, and obviously with life in all its areas. And therefore, life, the management of our life, must be refounded on three values. No longer on religious faith, as it has been in the past, which not only has not solved our problems, but has caused terrible suffering, even unleashing religious wars. But let us move to a different value. First place is taken by logic, because it is a science. Spiritual laws, science, therefore logic, discernment, capacity for correct analysis and deduction. Faith, which is no longer blind faith, but awareness. Therefore, logic that derives from the knowledge of spiritual science, discernment, that is wisdom. Because the spiritual law gives you the answer of how you must do a certain thing, and therefore make the right choices. Faith, trust. That is the certainty that what you do will succeed, because you have applied a mathematically exact law. This changes everything. From ignorance, where every choice you make to solve your problems is a roll of the dice, you move to logical choices founded on scientific laws. The death, the great mystery, and the great fear of human beings. From the booklet Veritas Vincit, your life is part of eternity. With death, your individual self does not end. Therefore, it escapes your observation and your judgment. For those who are still incarnated, what punishment befalls those who have transgressed the laws of God, that is, the universal laws? Cosmic beings will come in the name of God, that is, in the name of universal laws. Since whoever in one life has killed a brother or a sister dies many more times, even if these passages cannot be recorded by us who are incarnated, that is, cannot be known, cannot be perceived. But let it be impressed in the conscience of all, that in truth in the universe we are all brothers and sisters. For this reason they are our help, because they consider us their brothers, even though we are in such bad condition. From the booklet, Your Earth. It is very important to know that man must return to Earth, because in this way each one of you has the possibility to remedy his own mistakes or to gather the fruits of his good actions. The material universe serves only to make the human soul perfect. The Earth is a purifying sphere. That is, on planet Earth, unfortunately, spirits incarnate coming from various parts of this galaxy who still have serious problems of spiritual evolution to resolve. And therefore we come here to purify ourselves, to become conscious, to pay the price of our crimes, and rise again toward consciousness. Earthly life is not a punishment but a school. It becomes a punishment only by the fault of man. God does not want this. But he established these laws in case of infraction, that is, for those who commit infractions. Unfortunately, negative men are convinced that after death nothing exists. Therefore, as long as they are not convinced of the opposite, they will fall again into the wheel of reincarnations. If reincarnation did not exist, there would be no need for the material world. Only with reincarnation does the physical universe make sense. Here, therefore, is the foolishness of so many people who think, believing themselves alternative to official religions, let us call it New Age, that one must emanate light, that one must feel good. But in order to emanate light and feel good, I would have stayed in the afterlife. We came here into matter because we must get our hands dirty. Meditation is a great mockery if afterwards I do not move to action. Prayer is an offense to God if afterwards it does not become a concrete and ethically correct act. We incarnate to get our hands dirty. Did you understand? These are small fragments of extraterrestrial science, explained. Think of 20 books full of this stuff. How they can change your way of thinking, of managing your family, personal, emotional, work relationships. It is a most precious reservoir of knowledge. It is the most precious thing that the extraterrestrials have brought us, and if we do not make these truths our own, we will not be able to live with them, because they live according to these principles. And these principles beyond their king, who is also our king, they have brought them here to earth to help a very suffering humanity, both the rich and the poor. We are all suffering. Perhaps we do not suffer for food, we do not suffer for clothing, but we suffer because in our hearts we have much pain and need for love. This is the truth. We lack love. We lack the embrace. We lack solidarity. We lack feeling that we are all brothers and sisters, which is the most beautiful truth that can exist.
Grazie.
Thank you. A deep and love-filled communication. We have also explained to you, and we wish to confirm it once again, that we, beings of light, come into contact only and exclusively with operators on Earth, who day by day donate their time and their life in the struggle against the criminal system of your world, which is the Antichrist, defending the life of all living beings of the Earth. We are not interested in those who selfishly seek love and harmony in their inner self. Without the evangelical struggle of social activism against wars and the evils of the world, we choose men and women who have offered their life and all their days to the last, to the voiceless. At the moment, we have no other type of contact with human beings who have chosen a path different from those mentioned above. With good peace to all those false contactees who sell you love and happiness at a cheap price. Deceptions. Either they are crazy or they are manipulated by negative entities to perform selection. Because they must sniff out the fool who wants to be saved for free, comfortably seated watching San Remo or the Champions League. So, I was asked to give them a voice. They too are voiceless in this world. They needed human beings who would speak to their own kind, because for now they cannot do so. And it has been important beyond what I could imagine. Therefore, let us return to the discourse of the law of cause and effect, since the planet is in crisis, and we are also risking a nuclear war, which will start from this clash. A global war. It is necessary for our future to enter into the mindset of action deriving from the law of cause and effect, understanding that we are responsible for what happens around us. We cannot deal only with our own interests, because our interests are the interests of the entire human race. There is no private interest that is not an interest of the human race, because we breathe the same air, we drink the same water, we eat the same food, all of us, and all of us are governed by these supreme laws that make us be born, grow, age, die, be reborn, grow again, age again, and die again, until we understand it, because even reincarnation has an end. When the spirit reaches the stability of ethics, it no longer needs to reincarnate and enters into what is rightfully due to it, life and eternal consciousness. This is the truth that power does not reveal to us. Otherwise, they lose the sheep. We must therefore commit ourselves at the social level, actively participating in a cause in favor of life and the planet, which is our common home. We must resist, oppose the spreading evil, and give our personal contribution, however small it may be, to concrete improvement. The sentence I hate the most is, "But what can I do?" Everything. There is the light of God in you. You are part of Him. What could a Sardinian railway worker born into a family of farmers do? Nothing. I applied the law of AIC. You know it, right? Who does not know the law of AIC? How? Madam. The famous law of AIC, it is in all university texts. It is carved in large letters at the entrance of Parliament. Ah, no, there is something else there. I got confused. At the entrance of Parliament, it says, "We screw you." It is an acronym. It is a joke, madam. It means, I will say it more politely, it means, get off your chair. AIC, get off your chair. It is an extraordinary law. So this small Sardinian railway worker got off his chair and went to Mr. Siragusa. He asked the aliens, show yourselves. Otherwise, there is no way I collaborate with you. And here I am. I left my land. I left the state railways. I became a national and international documentarist. My documentaries went around. I worked for Voyager. Do you remember Voyager? Impossible, but with these magical beings, everything is possible. They do not need people who say, "Eh, but what can I do anyway?" They discard those immediately. They need people who say, "What can I do?" Come with us. We will think about it. They even take this away from you. I would never have discovered that I had the talent for research and documentary work. They guided me because they know I do not yet who I am. They know who I am. I do not know. I have, like all of you, a conventional name written on a registry sheet. But it is a bureaucratic convention, Pier Giorgio Caria. It is not me, it is a convention. But if I look at myself in the mirror, I do not know where I come from, and I do not know where I'm going. And all of you the same. That is, spiritually we are dead. We are eternal and we do not remember it. But how? I am eternal and I do not remember being so? No. It is a karmic condition because we have faults to atone for. We have things to learn. We have hugs and kisses to give. Until we cease to be belligerent among ourselves. We will not be allowed to remember who we are. Think about it for a moment, but who am I? I do not know, in essence. In essence, we do not know who we are, beyond the bureaucratic convention or sexual gender. But who am I? Where was I born? How do I function? Why do I breathe? Why am I born? Why do I die? We do not know, therefore we are dead. In fact, what does Christ say? Let the dead bury their own dead. You follow me. Because he gives you the method to find yourself again. Therefore, we must understand that life is governed by these supreme universal laws, that ethics is an indispensable foundation for personal, social, and planetary stability. Without ethics, there will be no peace. Do you think that in these elections, whoever wins will give us the solution? They will not give it to us. They know nothing about all this, nothing. Party means divided. Humanity is one. We only need the same things. Food, water, a home, clothes, and resources to live. What does politics have to do with this? If all human beings need this, then all that is needed is an organization that extracts labor, produces, and distributes to everyone what we need. End of economy, end of politics. This is true equality. Therefore, as long as there is money, as long as there is politics, we will always be divided and slaves. Therefore, in the best of cases, all the people who presented themselves at the elections, in the best of cases, they are deluded because they do not have the knowledge. Attention, there may also be some Christ who has decided to give his life in the name of justice. But I must see them because a comedian came who told us he was Jesus. In reality, he was Satan, and he fooled us again. So, it is better that we do the work ourselves. Matthew chapter 25, then the king. He will say to those who will be on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom, prepared for you since the creation of the world. Take possession of the kingdom means that those who enter the kingdom know how to govern in a just way, in an equitable way. We cannot enter the kingdom if we do not understand and do not demonstrate in our life that we are good governors. This kingdom, he will not give it to us. Is the concept clear? There cannot be a good government if the people do not know how to govern. You cannot delegate the well-being of your life to another. It is madness. The well-being of your life only you can protect. No one else will protect it for you. Delegating your life to others is the most stupid and idiotic thing that can be done. At home, I do not need a minister of finance to manage my expenses. I know very well how to do it myself, and I decide where to invest, not him. Therefore, let us exit this grotesque, horrific pantomime, which devastates ourselves, our beautiful Italy, and the entire planet. This is the truth, but only a weak and ignorant people can allow these things to happen. Therefore, we must emancipate ourselves. And why will these chosen ones govern? Because they fed those who were hungry. They gave drink to those who were thirsty. They hosted the pilgrims, clothed the naked, healed the sick, and visited the prisoners. The new society will be a society of solidarity. It will not be a society of competition, because we are the one people. A divided people is only an entity torn to pieces in the hands of the most criminal, the most corrupt, and the most corruptible. That young lad who sold drinks. Yes. Winter is coming. This was a simple boy who sold drinks. He entered there and stained himself with horrifying crimes, ruining his existence for centuries and centuries. These are madmen. These are madmen. For a bit of ego, the minister who shakes hands with other criminals. They are all criminals. They are criminals. These people have black souls stained with very serious crimes, and we allow ourselves to be governed by them. This boy ruined himself and became a criminal at a spiritual level. When he leaves the body, I would not want to be in his place and all those like him. Therefore, let us beware of the sirens of power, because then we pay dearly for it. Then the righteous will answer him, "But Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?" And the king will say to them, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." Matthew 16. Then Jesus said to his disciples, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves." That is, abandon your selfish projects. Take up their cross, accept to pay your karma. Because whoever wants to save his own life will lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake that is for the practice of those laws, will find the true life. The true life is the consciousness of who we really are, spirits, children of a divinity, eternal. It is no small thing to recover. And in fact, the Lord, returning to that young lad, what good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? For the Son of Man will come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and will repay each one according to his actions. Not according to religious beliefs, Hail Marys, Our Fathers, communions, according to actions. Cause-effect. Now, have we understood that the gospel is founded on karma and reincarnation, not because it is a religious belief? Because Christ is a scientist who was killed by priests 2,000 years ago and who came to teach us the science that frees us. But it must be applied, otherwise you pay for it worse. Go, your faith has saved you, but do not sin anymore, or something worse may happen to you. Cause-effect. Revelation 22. Look, I am coming soon. My reward is with me, and I will give to each person according to what they have done. They fooled us. Religious belief does not matter. They are natural laws. Religion is a human invention, a trap, a fraud. In fact, there is chapter 16, I believe 17 and 18 of Revelation, dedicated to the destruction of Babylon the Great, ergo the Vatican, which is the reincarnation of the Roman Empire, has subjugated the peoples with theological deception and religious deception. Thank you.
Grazie.
Now, until 8. Control room. Do we have until 8 p.m.? So 3/4 of an hour for questions. Who passes the microphone? I believe that outside there is a small box where you can leave your offering, if you can, always in complete freedom. But who put them there? I don't think Jesus made these little pills appear, right? Come on, question.
I'll start. Hi. I'll start.
Hi.
Hi. I've been following you online for 2 years. It's the first time I see you.
But have you really been following me for 2 years?
Yes.
Yes, I've turned around a few times. I saw you behind.
Exactly. 3 very quick questions.
Oh, but this guy always follows me, I was saying.
So, a few days ago, I saw one of your videos where you talk about déjà vu. You say that déjà vu is something that will happen. I always thought it was something that happened in the past. If you could give me a small clarification.
Déjà vu cannot be something...
Sorry, I'll ask the 3 questions right away, then...
3? No, 1.
Very quick.
Go on, shoot.
The second, who was Leonardo da Vinci? The third, it's pure curiosity whether the footage of the landing at Edwards Base was ever recovered.
No, the footage of the landing at Edwards Base, we were not able to recover it. Because we were close, but the CIA arrived first. And we understood that if we had had that footage in our hands, they would have taken us out. And heaven cannot protect us. They decide when the time comes. That is, they can give protection within certain parameters. If you use free will and insist on something that they do not tell you, they cannot protect you, and so they eliminate you. Déjà vu can be, because déjà vu is when you do something, you do it in the present and it seems to you that you have already lived it. So if you live it in the present, it cannot be a memory of the past, because it is something you are living now, an action you are performing in the present. Therefore, no action is ever identical to itself. There is always a variation, at least in your state of consciousness, which changes across the various incarnations. Now, when we are born and incarnate, we lose the memory of what we have been. But before being born, the life project in its main structure has already been made. Clear? So you are born, but before being born you know that you will be born from that father and that mother. Then you will do what you do. In short, the job, you will get married or not get married. You will have children. In short, you do this whole path. You already have it. It's like any trip. It's not that I go to the airport and say, well, now where do I go? That is, I go to the airport, I already have the ticket in my pocket, I already know where I will go, I have already booked the hotel, the car, if I need it, etc., etc. That is, I plan the trip beforehand in its entire structure. Possibly I already know the date on which I will return home. Then we are born, and this life project, we forget it. Because the law requires that what we do in life be spontaneous, that is, not tainted by a previous memory, because otherwise the action loses its value. But it sometimes happens that something important or that in you as a spirit has remained imprinted at the moment you do it. You say, but I have already lived this thing. You have not lived it, you had planned it. It's like, for example, I have been to various Mayan cities, Chichen Itza. Before going to Chichen Itza, I looked at the photos, so I went to see this pyramid. I wanted to film it. I went there as part of the crew, obviously, not as a tourist. So, when I found myself in front of El Castillo, the famous pyramid of Chichen Itza, I had already seen it. That is, that action of finding myself with the camera filming the pyramid was already in my head before leaving. That is déjà vu. Have I answered everything yes? Leonardo da Vinci, he could have been, I don't know for sure, but in my opinion, he was John the Evangelist. Because the Mona Lisa is John the Evangelist, the Comforter in feminine form. If he was not John, he was one of the apostles or an important disciple. Because the apostles are here, they are incarnated. Let's say that all at the same time. They have been here. However, some have already gone away. But I have known several of them. I know someone who is now active here on Earth. Please, question.
Hi, Pier. I'm Paolo from Milan. I wanted to ask you something. This year, my partner and I went to Croatia. We saw a sighting together. That was really live. I wanted to ask why they do not show themselves. You only see them, let's say, in that way, but not so that we see them and have any contact.
They create in the consciousness of human beings a sensory stimulus that must determine in people they have sounded out and chosen. Therefore, the sighting is never random. A push to search and possibly get closer to one of their operators who explains to you why they are here, and thus you can get your hands on the whole discourse that I have given you today and begin to prepare yourself to become a possible aspirant to the new kingdom. The sighting is not to make us enjoy egoic sensationalism, because I too am an elect one and therefore I have seen the UFO. The sighting is a stimulus to push you toward a possibility, but if you cannot manage to realize those values, it is useless. Indeed, it condemns you. Go, your faith has saved you.
A second question.
You see, today you are here. Perhaps this sighting pushed you to come here.
I've been following you for a few years now. A second question.
In fact, I saw two of them.
A second question I wanted to ask you about Sarah Cuniel. What do you think?
No. Don't ask me these questions because I am a public figure. My videos are seen by hundreds of thousands of people, so I can only say that I know her personally. In fact, I was chatting with her for a purely practical matter a couple of days ago. I respect her, obviously. Who is it? Don't tell me that you follow me too.
Hi, my name is Luca.
Hi, Luca. I'm joking.
Nothing. I am a bit emotional. I'm not a great speaker. I'm not a great speaker. I'll try to ask you the question. Since I was little, I've been a bit frustrated.
Sorry for a second, Luca. Guys, maybe go into the other room and collect 3 to 4 questions so they can be more in the spotlight too. Thanks.
Since I was little, I have been a bit disoriented by the orientation of the Catholic religion from catechism. I have always remained doubtful. I wanted precisely to search for my own truth. Now, in this period here, of the 2 years that have passed with difficulties and everything, they have opened many doors for me. They have made me understand many things. Lately, perhaps that's why I'm here today. I started reading a book by Vito Mancuso, where he talks about how to improve oneself. Today I heard a lot of talk about ethics, that ethics matters a lot. Precisely in this book, there is a lot of talk about ethics, about being just, about wisdom, about discernment.
So what is the question?
The question is, I want to understand who Jesus really was, because I have gone deeper, and they say Jesus the Essene. I am leaning toward the idea that when he, this king, came among us, he chose whom he chose, because he could not have chosen, as you say, an ignorant person who does not understand, to have chosen people already ready even at that time. I want to know if you can tell me something about the Essenes, please. Thank you.
On these realities over the years, there has arisen an endless sea of sludge and pseudo-spiritual junk that is of no use. Now, the author you mentioned I do not know. But I am not interested in judgments or personal evaluations. I am interested in talking about the truth. The Essenes were a group of initiates from Atlantis. They live in the city of El Dorado, in the bowels of the planet, that is, in the inner continents. They were programmed and prepared because they were to be the cultural womb that had to receive the divine incarnation of the solar Logos, alias Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus and Christ are two entities. Jesus becomes Christ when John the Baptist baptizes him. So Jesus is the initiate. We can say the most evolved man ever expressed by planet Earth, prepared before birth, since Atlantis, for this task. Let's say he was part of a group of initiates who were preparing themselves. Then Christ would have chosen the one he would have deemed most suitable for personification, which is not reincarnation. So the best one, the one who succeeds best in this task, is Mr. Jesus of Nazareth, who in Atlantis was called Ori, and he was together with 2 of his friends. One was called Barat, and would be known as John the Evangelist. The other was called Nibiru, and would be known as John the Baptist. Among the 3 initiates of the school of Posidonia, the capital of Atlantis, Ori is chosen by Christ. Therefore the Essenes were not the teachers of Jesus, because the Essenes were indeed initiates, but it was Jesus who taught them. They only had to receive him in a cultural and social womb that would protect his growth. Because then at 33 years old, the solar Logos, Christ, the Spirit of the Son, incarnates in Jesus. Therefore, Jesus is the Son that walks among us. In fact, he says it, I am the light of the world. The Last Supper, which then founds Catholicism, communion, is the Son, because those 12 represented all of humanity. The 12 apostles are the 12 tribes of Israel and are spirits who have followed an evolutionary path that makes these 12 entities converge in Palestine, because there the Son had to be born and give the final initiation that would put an end to the infernal history of human society with a terrible selection that must leave the kingdom to the elect. This is Jesus. Jesus, therefore, is the divine incarnation. Jesus is, in the universal context, the responsible one or the representative of terrestrial humanity. In fact, he says something apparently contradictory. He says, I will not come anymore, but I will remain with you until the end of times, until the end of days. And then he says, I will not leave you orphans. I will return among you. Who no longer returns, who no longer incarnates is the Son, but it remains with us because it gives us the light to live. The one who returns is Jesus made Christ. This is the reality that the masters who come from other worlds teach us.
Are there other entities linked to other planets?
Every planet has its own referent. It has its own initiate. The initiate of Earth is Jesus of Nazareth, the King. Luca's question was, on other planets, is there a Jesus? Of course, every planet has its initiate. Generally, it is very rare that these beings are put to death, because the miracles they perform are so striking that those humanities convert. Jesus was killed because the ruling caste had understood that he was the Christ. And they said, the chair is over, guys. What do we do? It's better that one dies rather than the whole people. Hypocrites. In reality, they did not want to lose power. The usual story. But now he returns. Look, at this moment it is not only the apostles. On earth there are all those protagonists of that grand tragedy that was Palestine 2,000 years ago. They are all here. There is Herod, and I know who he is, Herod Antipas. I cannot tell you. But you all know him, please.
Good evening.
So I won't tell you anything. I'll tell you one thing that he likes a lot. He's a great womanizer. "2,000 years. 2,000 years in the evolution of the spirit are a blink of an eye. Someone who 2,000 years ago was made in a certain way reincarnates and is almost the same. Because our evolutionary times as spirits are calculated in millions of years. For example, when we, as a collective animal soul, by pure instinct of universal law, jump into the human-animal kingdom, which is us, we are the human-animal kingdom, because humanity lives mainly according to the stimuli of the flesh: sex, enjoyment, defense of territory, conquest. Therefore, we are fighting to enter the fourth dimension, which is the dimension of humanity, that is, of the fully ethical self. In fact, we call solidarity actions humanitarian actions, and since we are not supportive, we are not yet human. We are human animals. The time it takes from the beginning of the entry of the spirit of the evolutionary principle collective animal soul from the plant, jumps into the animal, and does an apprenticeship of 600 million years. Once these 600 million years expire, it jumps into the human animal, and it takes another 100 million years to make the jump from the human animal to the animal, to the human, to the I am stabilized in ethics. 100 million years, whoever fails goes back to the beginning of the process, which means going back to the start of the 700 million years. Therefore, 2,000 years with these numbers are peanuts. For this reason, it is important. Now it is fundamental we are playing this crazy and abysmal evolutionary story. We are playing it now. If we fail, it is a tragedy. Because the universal law pushes us back to the beginning, but we remain human, incarnated in animals. Because God does not take away the evolutionary effort from you, but blocks it because He gave us the deadly weapon, the body. Make a cat build an atomic bomb, even if inside there is Enrico Fermi. It can't do it. The law is very severe. Very severe. It is called the second death. When Jesus says, the lake of fire and sulfur, the fire of Gehenna, He is not talking about a physical place. He is talking about the state of atrocious suffering of the human being who for millions of years is incarnated as punishment for his heinous crimes in an animal body, knowing he is human. There are many around, and sometimes I discover them. They are human, therefore they understand. They learn the language. You talk with them. They are animals. They are missing only speech. Indeed, they even try to speak. If you discover them, they are ashamed if you tell them. You are human, right? They run away. Eugenio had a German shepherd. His name was... I never remember it. Fabio. Argo. He was a priest who had inquisited him during the Inquisition. Argo kennel. The law is severe. That is if we... I recommend a book. Gina Kerminara. Edgar Casey, medium and healer. Read it. It talks only about karma. This story remains with me. I'll tell it to you briefly. So he was a person who discovers that he could go into self-hypnosis and had access to the universal memory and could tell you anything about you, about your illness, and also about past lives. Edgar Casey, spelled with a Y, medium and healer, author Gina Cerminara, Edizioni Mediterranee. There is this woman who goes to Casey and tells him, I have gone to all the doctors. I have spent a sea of money and I can't find one who heals me. I always have a terrible pain in this side that doesn't go away. I can't stand it. It's torture. Casey goes into a hypnotic state. When he is in a hypnotic state, he speaks because he has access to the Akashic archives. And he tells her, you were a Roman noblewoman. You were crazy about circus shows where the beasts tore Christians apart. What you carry in your body is this. You saw the scene of a beast that had bitten a Christian in the side, and from there it began to devour him, and you laughed uncontrollably. This is called the law of cause and effect. Please, question.
Prego, domanda.
Buonasera.
Ciao.
Good evening. First of all, thank you, because tonight has been very enlightening for me.
Can you hold the microphone steady?
I was thanking you because it really was something enlightening for me. I'm making this, I don't know, request for confirmation. In Luke chapter 21, we read, Teacher, when then will these things happen? What will be the sign? And he replied, See that you're not deceived. Many will come in my name, saying, I am he, and the time is near. Do not go after them. And then it continues, You know it better than I do. So this has always tormented me a bit in the sense that I always wondered, how can we discern? Because by now,
Discernment.
yes, sorry, they tell us Christ is there, Christ is there, Christ is up and down, Christ.
Christ. Christ. So there are certain mystery traditions that say, one is Rudolf Steiner, that Christ will manifest in the etheric. That's true. The etheric Christ is the Christ that each of us realizes within ourselves by doing the works he told us to do. Works of solidarity, feeding the hungry, giving drink to the thirsty. There are two levels of exegesis regarding this part of Luke's gospel. The first is those who say they are saviors. Vote for me, I will save you. Or, believe in me, I represent Christ, I am his minister. But then they only do blah, 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 and the Christ-like works, that is, acts of solidarity, are not there. So there are institutions, one at random. One at random that we know well. It's in that city whose name is Amr spelled backwards. It doesn't seem to me that Christ threw parties with prostitutes and suitcases of drugs brought by the mafioso informant Calcara and delivered to the ministers of Jesus. It doesn't seem to me that Jesus had a bank in which there is even CIA money, not only mafia money, and yet they say Christ is there. But Christ is a symbol. It is salvation. So all those who promise us salvation without telling us that the commitment is yours, those are deceiving you. Then, this, let's say, is the more outward exegesis. Then, there is the inner exegesis. Whoever tells you that Christ is there and Christ is there is making a fool of you. Christ is in you, the kingdom of God is within you. So, the Savior cannot save you, meaning, physically, he cannot save you if you do not realize his values within yourself. So salvation is not over there. It is not over there. It is not above. It is not below. It is in the actions you do. Behold, I come soon, and I will repay each one according to their works. So where is salvation? In your actions. So whoever looks for a saving Christ somewhere is mistaken, because whoever does not find and realize Christ within themselves, Christ condemns them. So Jesus returns and condemns you. You say, but wasn't he supposed to set me free? No. Christ comes to free those who are like him, supportive, loving. This is the truth.
Thank you. Hi, Pierre. I'm asking a question from the other room. Do the forces of good and the forces of evil operate in the same way on other planets similar to Earth?
In all dual worlds where there is the final phase of animal humanity that must leap into the stability of ethics of truly human humanities, they are all selected, if they do not balance and stabilize their ethics, by two instruments, by two forces that God uses to generate an evolutionary movement of choice. Separation of wheat from weeds. God has no enemies. He is omnipotent. If God had enemies, he would immediately cease to be omnipotent. That is, he could lose the battle with the enemy, but God is omnipotent. So he says to the devil, hey, you come here. Read the story of Job in the Old Testament. Satan, where are you going? Where have you been? I was going around the world. God says, good. And what did you see? I saw your son Job. And God, all pleased, Job loves me. And Satan says, well, of course he loves you. He's rich. So you gave him wealth. He has a bunch of wives who adore him. He's bursting with health. I'd like to see him not adore you with all these gifts you've given him. Will you allow me to tempt him? Satan says to God, will you allow me to tempt him? And God says, yes. I allow you to tempt him, but do not touch his health. Satan goes to earth and takes everything away from him. All of it. His riches. He turns his wives against him. His favorite pointed a finger at him and said, fool, this God you worship, do you see how he has reduced us to poverty? What is this story? Job, faithful to God, says, be quiet, foolish woman. If the Father wants this, blessed be he and let his will be done. And Satan, humiliated, goes back to God and says, well, you were right. This Job really does love you, but he's in perfect health. Let's see if he doesn't spit in your face if you allow me to touch his health. And God thinks for a moment and says, all right, touch his health, but do not kill him. Satan returns and makes him come down with a nasty illness. His whole body fills up with pustules, oozing, so much so that Job has to sit in a basket full of ashes trying to dry the pustules by covering himself with ash. Then Satan tempts 3 of his friends to go visit him. They find Job impoverished, with all the wives embittered, covered in pustules, on a basket full of ashes, and they say, but what happened to you? This God, he reduced you to this? Deny him. So Job starts to waver a bit. But God, who loved Job, personifies himself in a young man. He goes to where Job is, tells the 3 friends off, and Job recovers and says, no, no, the Lord is my God, blessed be he always. So in the end, God does as he pleases. He allows Satan to tempt him, but when he sees that Job is falling, he goes and gives him strength. This is the omnipotent one when he loves you. Therefore, we must make ourselves loved by this being, and if he sends us suffering, it is always for our good. Eugenio used to repeat it to us always. Bless those who make you suffer, because you are paying off karma, or you are proving to God, that you are faithful to him. After Job wins this terrible trial, God gave him 100 times as much. Because the law of karma imposes interest on evil, but above all, on good. When Jesus says, you will have 100 times as much, he is also talking about material goods. Because in that sentence, he is also talking about lands and houses. In fact, extraterrestrial societies that practice these laws have a level of well-being unimaginable to us, a spaceship for everyone. Such a high level of well-being cannot exist, and yet it is the norm of all humanities. All humanities of the 4th dimension and of the redeemed 3rd dimension live with this level of well-being. We have had the teachings of St. Francis, of Padre Pio, the stigmata of Padre Pio, the stigmata of Giorgio Bongiovanni, because in this dimension, if you do not take up your cross, that is, if you do not balance your karma, you cannot be saved. That is, you cannot go into the 4th dimension. Please question.
Hi, I'm Roberto.
Where are you?
And I'm here.
Hi, Roberto.
So, okay, something very quick. First of all, I have to tell the truth. Even watching you online, it's like being here, and it's something incredible. I don't know, an insane feeling.
Thank you.
Only you managed to produce this feeling in me.
I carry with me these angels. What you perceive, what warms you, is them. They are always there.
Well, then it means I really draw near a lot of them, in my opinion. Anyway, something that right now I would need because my heart is about to give out. The question is this, the AIC. Your very clear statement about the AIC.
Sorry, Roberto, speak.
Yes. So basically it concerns your law of the AIC, because in my opinion, that's the big point from which our mind really struggles to find a link, let's say. In my small way, I try to always do something for others, but obviously finding the courage to change society, finding a new idea. I mean, the question I wanted to ask you is this. I certainly don't have this ability. I want to do something, and I hate people who say, what can I do? Look, we're on the same level. From there to saying, though, that from tomorrow I change myself.
No, Roberto.
You get what I mean? The question is this. If I do my homework, this homework helps me find the courage, the path to, as you say, to manage in my small way to realize who I am and what I must do. This is the question.
I am here for this. I say it with, humility. I am here to prove that what I say is true. I, Roberto, understood nothing about anything. I knew nothing. I spent my money on fun, girls, the usual stuff. So what special thing did I do? Simply, I got my butt off the chair. I went to that gentleman there in Sicily. I started to study. New ideas came to me, and I began to clumsily put these new ideas into practice. I tried to find friends who thought like me, because I lost all the old ones, because they did not make this choice, and today I am here to tell it. So this process is a very ordinary process. It is not. But how do I change myself? This process is taken in charge by these entities. It's they who are here. They have the structure to help us because, as Jesus says to Peter, what is not possible for man is possible for God, that is, for his interstellar confederation, which has absolute powers. So we are not alone. We are watched over. And if we wake up with a loving intention and a fighting spirit against the evils of the world, these people help us. I am not special. I'm someone who got his hands dirty. You can do exactly the same thing, but it depends on you. Courage, Roberto, is a relative word. If I develop the awareness of being eternal, if I develop the certain consciousness that I collaborate with a plan or with very powerful entities, if I am certain that I have developed a relationship with our Lord and with His Father, do I need to have courage? I have awareness. Which is this? And I'll tell you right away. Some people ask me, but aren't you afraid of being killed? No, I'm afraid of suffering, which is another thing. But then I say, look, I asked to collaborate with these figures who entrusted me with this task, that is, to expose myself, to put my face to it. By putting my face to it and attacking, not power as such, I attack no one. What do? I attack ideas, I change ideas in people's heads. For power, this is extremely dangerous. It is the most terrible thing. Changing people's minds, because when people no longer give consent, they are finished. But if I know what I am doing, because I have known power, meaning I have had a way to touch it with my hand, what do? Do I get up in the morning with fear that if today I speak plainly in Milan, they will take me out? Do you know what my answer is? Since I know the Omnipotent, today you see that He speaks to us continuously. If He decides that I must speak because He wants it that way, no one will touch me. There is no assassin or secret service or mafioso who can touch me if the Father says He needs me there. But if the Father says tomorrow you must die, there will be no bodyguard, even if I dig a bunker 20 kilometers underground, that can protect me. So what do I worry about? Let the Father's will be done if He decides. If He decides that I work well for Him and bring Him brothers and sisters, who are you, who awaken, and He is happy, who is going to touch me? And if He decides that I must go because He wants me to do something else, no one will be able to protect me. In the end, if I am conscious of this, should I be afraid or should I have courage? No, I understood how it works. I play along. Question.
Good evening. I'm here in the back.
Let's bring the microphone forward too. First of all,
I wanted to thank you. My question is very simple. Basically, I think I'm here today because in the last month and a half, I've had 3 very lucid dreams. First, I dreamed of a flying saucer, then the Madonna, then a spaceship. I really had visions too of humanity rising, other things. I'm not Catholic, I should say so. I wanted to ask what you can tell us about dreams and how they work with us during the night, because they were truly intense moments.
I believe you are the reincarnation of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Why?
It's a joke. No, those dreams you have, it sounds like Star Wars or Yoda. So, extraterrestrials, with their technologies, can enter any frequency. So also into dreams. Extraterrestrials can enter mediumistic chains because their technology allows them to get in from anywhere. Extraterrestrials can go into the world of the dead and speak with the deceased who are more alive than we are. So, depending on the person's soul structure and sensitivity, they choose how to sensitize you. The goal is always the same: to get you to one of their operators who explains the truth to you, so that you can take your life in hand by studying and applying, and save yourself. They are here because they want to save us, but it depends on us, only on us. They offer us a possibility. But if you don't get up and start walking, a small step, Roberto, even a small step is enough. Open this book on a tablet, on a smartphone. A small step, read. From there, ideas come. But this step attracts their attention and their help. It's a perfect mechanism. They have instruments and they are able to monitor 24 hours a day all living beings on planet Earth, all of them, no one excluded. In fact, I have heard that perhaps all human beings have been taken aboard the spacecraft at least once to undergo analysis. Level of pollution, conditions, etc., etc. They have resources unimaginable to us. Please question. Let's move closer here, guys. The last one over there, and then come here to the front.
Buonasera, sono Laura. Salve.
Good evening, I'm Laura. Hello.
Hi, Laura.
Hi. I wanted to know how many alien races there are and which alien race you talked about this evening, and what you think of Zechariah Sitchin.
Elena ha parlato questa sera e cosa pensa di Zaccaria Sitchin.
So, sweetheart, what's your name? Maura? Laura. Laura. The alien race is useless, because what matters is not the race, but the ethics of that individual. So there can be a beautiful alien race, but criminal. There can be an alien race that is aesthetically ugly to us, but ethical, loving. They don't reason like that. This is ufological junk that serves to divert our attention from the true value, which is spiritual science. They come from the whole universe, mainly from Orion, Alpha Centauri, the Pleiades, and Procyon, but it makes no sense at all. What matters is what they do. That is what matters. The rest makes no sense. It's superficialities. Look, on Earth, how many races are there? Aborigines, Watusi, Norwegians, Chinese, Japanese. We are all different on Earth. In fact, when someone tells me, but are they like us? Typical Western egoic stance. Like us who? Like us Watusi? Like us Aborigines? Like us Norwegians? Like us Native Americans? Like us Maya? Like us Chinese? Who are these aliens supposed to resemble? Us? No, they don't resemble any of our races because all human races are criminal, except the innocent ones because they are poor, or they are, let's say, in the forests. But this humanity is mainly criminal. At best, it is conformed and sluggish within a criminal system to which it offers no resistance at all. This is what matters. Who we are is not the outward appearance, the very last question here. Who is here? So I said earlier in the other room and to the people who left, that if you agree, I will do a conference here in Milan of questions only, so we'll stay here. I arrive, I sit down and say good evening, and then you speak. Go ahead with the question. Stand up, dear.
Okay, can you hear me? The role of evil. What is the task of evil?
The task of evil.
Because you always talk about punishment.
But I explained it earlier. The parable of Job is that the task of evil is to flush out the corrupt, the corruptors, and the corruptible, because it must become evident through actions who you are inside. So the task of evil is to come to you and tell you, see, today the bank is unattended. Take away a little bag of coins. That is the task of evil. Your task is to say no. Evil is a tool of God to select humanity. That's it. Then it has other functions too, but I would have to give an initiatic lesson. There's no time.
So these bad ones also have a role in the divine plan?
No. Evil is the demons, the devil. The bad ones are the corrupt humans who sell their soul in exchange for power, success, money, sex, and so on. They will be punished. The devil is not punished. A hug. See you soon, Clear. Evil is the devil. We, in the human sense, we are evil. Truly, if we do not oppose temptation. We must not become corrupt. We must fight for the values of love, peace, and justice. Otherwise, we are evil and we will be punished. The devil is God's instrument to see whether we are evil or whether we are good. We have to close, friends. Quickly, the last one. Very quick. Brief.
Very brief. It's 2 points that are the same question. So first of all, I've always been struck in the gospel by the fact that Jesus healed the sick, but cast out demons and asked his disciples to do the same. What does this mean today for us? That is, casting out demons when we see them in others? And then, what is our role toward young people?
The role of the parent toward young people is to educate them in building an honest life, where they pursue their interests but also those of society. That is, a civic commitment where they feel their, let's say, sensitivity most, where it draws them. Casting out demons is something that is not well understood because everything that we do wrong. I'll tell you something ugly, sweetheart. All of humanity is possessed, even us. When we do not commit ourselves against evil in a cause, we are possessed by demons who inspire us to defend our little corner of comfort. That is the devil, and it is in all of us. Watch the film, The Devil's Advocate. Very interesting. So Jesus cast out demons. But after he cast out the demon and you do not change your life, it comes back immediately. It's not that Jesus cast it out. Illness is the fruit of an error in your lifestyle. There is no illness in a correct life. So the cause of our illness is our lifestyle: physical illness, mental illness, soul illness, and spiritual illness. Where the human being suffers, that infirmity is due to our collaboration with a demonic principle to which we submit because we do not do what we should do. Reject evil. Offer our life for the common good. So the reason the West will be the last to be struck by devastation is because God wants us to swallow the apocalypse down to the last drop and does not want to give us time, through suffering, to wake up. Because we have economic power and we mind our own business, we will pay dearly for it. At this moment, Italy is belligerent, is complicit in genocide, and the Italian people are on vacation. They don't care. We will pay dearly if we do not get up.
E in vacanza, se ne frega, la pagheremo cara se non ci alziamo.